It is 7 a.m. Tuesday, March 11th, Jocks 94.5. Listen online, jocksfm.com, apps in your app store. Watch live YouTube, search Jocks 945. New AP poll out. We'll talk some college basketball today. Got two coaches heading to the NCAA tournament going to join us today on the show. We'll recap Auburn's loss to Alabama with Andy Burcham coming up at 8 a.m. Scott Cross, Troy head coach, going to join us at 8:20. And Lenny Acuff going to join us here in 20 minutes. Head coach at Lipscomb, who is heading to the dance. Longtime UAH head basketball coach and now heading to the NCAA tournament. Pretty cool story there. Wanted to start with this, and we'll continue this sort of after we visit with Coach Acuff. The SEC tournament begins this week. Where would you rank it with SEC events that they put on each year? Because I think if we just did all events, college events, people love this SEC tournament, but of course the NCAA tournament going to fall ahead of it. Probably some bowl games, college football playoff, etc. Maybe College World Series. But just the Southeastern Conference, where do you rank the basketball tournament as far as events that the SEC puts on? If you like college basketball, today is another great day for you. 24 conference tournament games today. The Big 12 starts at 11:30. The SWAC starts at 1. The ACC starts at 1. The MAAC starts at 5. The WAC starts at 3:30, and Conference USA starts at 5:30 today. The West Coast Conference will give out an automatic bid today. The Horizon will give out an automatic bid today, and the Northeast Conference will give out an automatic bid today, as well as the CAA. So it is wall-to-wall basketball again today, kind of just like yesterday. And yesterday, as we mentioned, Arkansas State goes down to Troy. Scott Cross, head coach of Troy, going to join us in the next hour, 94-81. Troy now 23-10. Statistically, if you looked at this game, parts of it wouldn't really make sense. Arkansas State shot 10 of 26 from three. Troy just 5 of 17, but dominated in the paint, 46 of 30, or 46 to 30. Outscored Arkansas State in the paint. 28-16 in the fast break. And this really just a cool story, first and foremost, for Troy. You got the Sun Belt Player of the Year in Taylor Conaway, 21 points last night, averages 14 a game, 5 assists a game, 3 steals a game. And you've got a pair of brothers, Marcus and Mile Rigsby, on this team that are going to be going to the NCAA tournament together on the same college basketball team. I heard an interview with them after the game. Really cool just to hear kind of them talk about how they dreamed of this growing up and wanted to do this when they were growing up. And if you hadn't heard that, go find that. It's really cool. It's the third NCAA appearance for the Trojans. Last was 2017. They're 0-2 all time, have not won a tournament game. And this season, Greg, third most wins all time. So another team in state that's just kind of picking it up and now heading to the NCAA tournament.
I think it's pretty awesome, too, to see all these breakthrough moments, breakthrough players, right? And we talked a lot about Steph Curry yesterday. Is there somebody that's going to emerge from this tournament that's the next Steph Curry? I don't know. I have no idea. Probably not. But it's still pretty amazing to see these young guys, some guys that maybe were under-recruited that have now landed because of how the hierarchy has changed in college basketball. How many guys that get their start at a mid-major that now are playing at the highest level, but you get to watch their run, their development, their initial surge in college basketball at a place like Troy. Now, hopefully Troy can afford them. UAB held on to Jelly Walker somehow magically over the course of 2 years. So it can happen. It's just harder to do now than ever before, but it's pretty cool to see the success that all the in-state programs have had. And it gives us a lot of options to root for come March Madness time.
Yeah, Lindenborg as well. Andy Kennedy making it very clear that there were financial options for him that were a little bit better than what he was going to be able to get in Birmingham, but wanted to stay with that program and with his teammates to be able to go out and compete. And kind of another cool thing about that, like with your teammates, Marcus Miles Rigsby brothers on this Troy team that are going to the dance together. I mean, just imagine, you have 2 boys, I have 2 boys, to be able to see them go play college basketball together, go to the NCAA tournament together by going and winning a conference tournament. It's got to be just cool to sit back and watch and just think about how cool that is and how cool that's going to be. St. Mary's gets into the West Coast Conference last night. They've won 7 straight, 17 of 18. They'll take on Gonzaga tonight. Gonzaga 24-8, St. Mary's 28-4. We get this matchup a lot in this tournament, but it's not the way that we normally get it. St. Mary's much better basketball team than Gonzaga this year. That's at 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN. That'll be the only ranked team that plays tonight. But like I said, 24 conference tournament games tonight just makes it so much more fun. I was watching last night, and it's just we talked about it yesterday, kind of the energy in the building for some of these games, Greg. something that makes it so much fun. It's it doesn't matter the level of the conference.
No,
these
if
tournament
anything, the
games
lower
feel
the conference,
different.
the better.
Yeah, it feels different, man. It really does, and it's just fun to see different players step up. It's fun to see different teams step up at this time of year because you know what's on the line.
Well, because a lot of these teams, they won't get that opportunity to play in the NIT. They won't get that opportunity to play in the CBI or the Vegas 6, whatever the other tournaments are that they have now. These guys have this is to play one more game in all likelihood. Like, you win and you get to the dance is amazing. That's great. But the likelihood of win or go home in these games is at the highest level. I mean, let's just be real. The runner-up of the MAAC ain't making it to the NIT or the CBI, and not happening. Maybe if enough Power 5 teams turn them down, then perhaps, but unlikely. So I think that's what makes it fun too, is knowing that there's literally nowhere else to go. And, we just have to survive. If we don't win this tournament, our careers are over. Like, that's a pretty harsh reality to come to.
It's crazy.
And we in football never had to deal with that. We had time to absorb the moment before our last game. You knew when your last game was coming. I knew when my last game was coming. Well, in the NFL, I thought maybe I'd go for a couple more. I don't know, but you never know when your last game's going to come. But in football, you at least have a little buildup. There's a little bit of buildup. And when I walked off the field in Cincinnati, I knew there was a strong possibility that was my last game. And I had time to absorb that. These guys have 5 minutes. It could lose on a buzzer beater and their career's over. It's crazy.
You can go half the game up thinking you're going to win, and then all of a sudden team comes back. The runs in basketball can be insane this time of year as well. Still a lot of flu going around, plus pollen season right around the corner. Make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters. 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a Trane dealer near you at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a Trane. There's also just cool stories that come up. Yesterday also, the SoCon hands out their automatic bid. The Wofford Terriers are going to the NCAA dance for the 3rd time in school history. Last time was 2019. They do have one tournament win. They're 1-5 all time. This is their 6th conference tourney title. So Dwight Perry going to take the Terriers to the NCAA tournament, and obviously one where they weren't really picked to win that tournament and weren't necessarily the favorite to be able to go get it. But they go 92-85 yesterday over Furman, and at 19-15, they will make the dance. These are some of the things that some people talk about that they don't like, Greg, that they don't feel like should be happening, that a 19-15 basketball team shouldn't be going to the NCAA tournament. But at Harris Cherokee Center last night in Asheville, North Carolina, the Wofford Terriers, they seal that deal, and they will be heading to the tournament.
Yeah, and I feel like Wofford, when you just said that a second ago, I feel like Wofford's been kind of a mainstay in the tournament for a while. I feel like we've seen them a bunch, but to think that that's only, the one of just a handful of tournament appearances, I'm a little surprised by that.
Yeah, I think too, when you get certain people that sort of make a run or make some noise, it's a little bit more lasting.
But have they made noise? I don't know. I feel like I've just always seen them as like a 14 seed. Like, I feel like I see them playing Baylor every year.
Well, they do have that one win in the NCAA tournament.
I remember that.
And, obviously our team that can shoot the three, and a couple of years ago, had the best 3-point shooter in college basketball. Would go 1 for 19 in that game. And then they don't move on. So one that it was memorable, at least. Probably should have stated it that way. And then you get some stories like you're potentially getting tonight. And I was locked onto the other side of this game last night, Charleston and UNC Wilmington. And I don't know if this is because of, the proximity or if it was a bit of a rivalry game inside of a semifinal. I hadn't seen the tape on Charleston and Wilmington basketball. I don't really know what they think of each other. But the last 5 or 6 minutes of actual game time in this game was unreal. I mean, they traded absolute body blow threes, just back and forth, back and forth. Donovan Newby for Wilmington, he shot 5 of 12 from 3 last night, had 24 points. And you had 4 starters in double figures for Charleston. They go down. So Wilmington moves on. You probably say, okay, great. Like, what's the story? Wilmington's 26-7. They're not that bad. Well, the story is going to come tonight with who they're playing. in the finals. And this is another one that I think a lot of people look at and say, yeah, I'm not real sure about this. Delaware was a 12 seed in the CAA tournament, the 12 seed. They are 16-19 this year. They are 5-13 in conference. There was one point in time they lost 11 of 12 in conference play. They are in the CAA championship game with a chance to knock off Wilmington and go to the NCAA tournament. So say what you want about you don't like those records in, you don't like teams that are below or near 500 in, but this is how it goes. And you make a run in your tournament, you got that chance. Wilmington is a 7.5 point favorite tonight, but just these are the stories that we get in March. And one thing that just makes it so much fun.
That is one thing that is the tiniest bit irritating is knowing that as much as I love, and I love the fact that these teams can make a run and get hot and no one's really eliminated when the tournaments start, but it literally it forces the regular season to become an abomination. I mean, it really doesn't matter at all. And they win more games and you get hot at the right time. It's great. The top seeded teams feel the pressure. I mean, all that's great. And it makes for great drama. But you are essentially telling us that your regular season conference doesn't matter at all. And your non-conference doesn't matter at these levels either because you're not worried about an at-large situation. So that is a little bit irritating for me.
Well, we'll get ready to be irritated tonight because St. Francis is taking on Central Connecticut in the Northeast Conference Final. They are 15-17, 8-8 in league play. So you'll get that one as well.
Does that not bother you at all?
Win your tournament. I mean, I understand what you say about you. It negates the regular season, but it doesn't.
But you can't tell me the regular season matters.
Go tell me the regular season didn't matter for St. Mary's and Gonzaga, who get quadruple buys in their conference tournament. They sit there and watch the teams play 4 other rounds before they even have to do anything. They don't even have to put their warm-ups on. They can travel in 4 days after the tournament starts and still have a day to get ready. It does make a difference. It's you can't say that it completely negates it because of seeding and because of buys and how things are managed. So it's not completely irrelevant. I do see the point of a team comes in, gets hot and wins it. And you say, man, Delaware's below 500. If they win this game, they'll be 17-19 going to the NCAA tournament. But this is where I've gotten myself in trouble because for years to this debate, I have said, well, if you don't like it, change it and don't let them in. And by God, guess what the big boy administrators are about to do? They're about to change it and not let them in, which I think is pitiful. But that's, I don't write the checks and I don't make the money, and that's what we're going to get.
You're not the check guy?
No, but here's the thing. You say you don't like it. Okay, cool. Well, we're about to start getting 17-17 Missouri in, and we're about to start getting 14-16 Oklahoma in. Like we're about to start getting 13-19 Illinois in.
Correct.
It's not going to be a ton different, except you're going to say, oh, I remember that guy that played there, instead of, I don't know anybody who played there. That's going to be the difference.
But here's the thing. You can never tell me that the regular season in college basketball will matter. You can never tell me that. Now, if you want to just acknowledge that the tournament is the king, and it's the best. I think it's the best sporting event we have in our country. Outside of potentially the Masters, I think the Masters, I think you could make a pretty strong case for
Daytona 500. We don't want to make our listeners mad.
Yeah, Daytona 500, all 6 million watching. The Super Bowl obviously is still a spectacle with 130 million viewers. That's massive. I think the college football tournament's become pretty good too. I will admit to that. I think it's been quite entertaining. I think the Olympics, anytime it's hosted on American soil, would be in the mix there. But I think on an annual basis, as far as what you can expect week in or week out, the NCAA tournament's the best 3 weeks of the sporting calendar. I think.
I don't debate it.
So, I just acknowledge that, yeah, I care a little bit about the regular season, but not that much. Because at the end of the day, I've seen 11 seeds get to the Final Four.
Well, there's one thing to care about it and one thing to say it doesn't matter. Did it matter for Auburn and Alabama, who are going to potentially get 1 seeds?
No, it doesn't matter, but we care about it. There's a difference.
Well, it does, because you don't have to play in an 8-9 or even a 5-12. You get to play a 16 seed. So that does matter as far as what your potential in the tournament's going to be.
For sure. It makes your path a little easier. We've seen 1 seeds, and if you get a 1 seed, you're percentage likelihood of getting to the Final Four is much, much higher than that of any other seed. So it is 100% true that there are more advantageous spots to be in when it comes to seeding. But if we start expanding the field to the point in which the 16 seeds are now watered down versions of conference teams, then what does that do for us?
Listen, it's one way to look at it.
You might have Missouri.
Daytona had 8.8 million this year, by the way. So up 2 million from your assumption.
There you go. Still 122 off the Super Bowl.
Well, it's their Super Bowl, Greg. Okay. We can each have our own. And they don't have to be equal.
No one said it is. I'm just trying. When I'm putting it in the category of Great American Sporting
I don't have
events.
anything even close to the NCAA tournament. And in part,
Masters?
It's not fair. No.
You love it.
It's a golf tournament. At the end of the day, no matter what you want to say about how great the landscaping is, it is a golf tournament. And to compare it to almost a month of unbelievable basketball with all these different stories and all these different teams with all these different backgrounds. And I know you're going to say, oh, well, Ian Fleischman's from Europe and he grew up poor. Great. Don't care.
Who's
really.
Ian Fleischman?
I don't know. But my point is you get so many different aspects of one particular sport that have come out of nowhere and then have this opportunity. And it's basketball. I can't put a golf tournament as the number one sport.
I'm not going to. I just said this is the only thing that's close.
I don't think I put
annually.
in the top 3 or 8 or 11 even. Like it's a cool tournament to just have on. But I think it's gone into this like, it's gone into this like folk hero category of like, you have to talk about how much you love it as opposed to how much you actually love it.
It's really more about where it is on the calendar. It's like the kickoff of spring. It feels like it's like the start of good weather. And, I think it's a little bit more than just the golf tournament. And I'm not going to sit there and say it's as consumable as it once was. It's not for me. I don't think it is for anybody that likes golf. I mean, I like golf fine, but unless Tiger Woods in the field, I'm just not going to care as much.
No,
I'm sorry,
but it's produced extremely well, and it does makes for great television as far as how visually appealing it is. Listen, I'm not going to say I don't watch it.
If you don't think it's pretty, that's fine.
I have it on. I'm not. And listen, even when you go and plug in bird sounds via your network, I guess that makes it better. But
we're outside.
Don't feel like it's necessary. Oh, it's been proven that they've done that before.
What do you mean?
Birds that are not indigenous to that area have been.
Have you been listening for them?
No, but it's recorded. Like there's articles about this. They've done it. Google it. Search it yourself. It's real. And actually, it wasn't real. It wasn't. It was the robot birds that they had in there.
The ones that watch you. Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Love that.
I'm trying to even think where I would go with top 3.
Olympics when they're stateside is pretty awesome. Dude, Olympics in Atlanta was like one of the great events of my life.
In 96?
Yes.
What were you, 5?
I was 8, and it was amazing. And it was like a life-changing experience.
I think we also, from an Olympic standpoint, we get caught up in 2 or 3 events, and we forget that there's like 86 events. So to say that the whole thing is amazing when the majority of it isn't even consumed, how it could compare to the NCAA tournament or the Super Bowl or anything of that nature, I wouldn't say. I would say no.
First of all, I'm the one that's saying NCAA tournament's number 1, too. We're on the same page.
That, but you're also throwing some others in there.
I'm just giving you some other options that some people might lean.
But you haven't given me others. Super Bowl. You haven't given me another good one.
Okay,
my point.
The 3M championship, Minnesota.
Now, if they play that in January, outdoors, I would be.
I got your attention.
100%. Yes.
I mean, the Super Bowl is the only thing I think that could potentially come close.
Here's what's hard about this
very
discussion.
Corporate.
Here's what's hard about this discussion is, like we said, this tournament's a month. So, like, as far as duration, how am I able to draw this out? Like, can I give you New Year's Day of college football? Can I give you Championship Sunday of the NFL? Some people are going to give you opening day Major League Baseball. Which I enjoy, but it's not in this category for me. Like, because these are giving
opening day.
I said some people are going to give you that as one of their great sporting either days or events. That's what are we just talking an event, like an individual event?
No, I think
Olympics and tournament, like that's different. It's so drawn out. It helps a lot.
When you say event, it's like a sequence of events. So to me, I don't think you can say, well, if you want to give it one day, the number 1 day on the sporting calendar for me, number 1 day on the sporting calendar is the first Thursday of March Madness. That is the number 1 seed for me, followed closely
By the first Friday.
by what?
The first Friday.
No,
It's
Friday
the same
I'm over
thing.
it.
The next day is the same
Friday
thing.
I'm over it by that point.
Wow, that sounds like the best event to me.
No, hang on. Followed closely by January 1st in college football. Like January 1st in college football to me is just the greatest. I love it. I mean, you wake up, hope springs eternal. I know some people are probably have a bit of a headache that day. We don't. We work that day, so have for years. So I wake up feeling rejuvenated and fresh and ready to conquer the upcoming year. But yeah, I very much enjoy that part, that day. I think after that, Sunday at Augusta is always pretty entertaining for me. I think Friday of March Madness would be up there for sure. So those are probably some the AFC and NFC championship game Sunday. That's up there for me.
So how do you ask this? Do you ask this event? Do you ask this day? It's difficult because you could say, I mean, if you're going to say NCAA tournament, then you could say World Series. You could say NBA Finals, and not that would be at the top of our list or John's list, but you could, if you're going to draw something out that way, that would be an event, an individual event in a sport. So we'll continue that conversation throughout the show. You give us your thoughts. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. You can text into the show 205-834-9450. Someone who is going to be a part of the NCAA tournament, Lenny Acuff, Lipscomb head basketball coach, joins us next on Mac and Cube in the morning. $725 connect with Lenny Acuff, head coach at Lipscomb, heading to the NCAA tournament here in just a few moments. We were talking best days / events in sports. You can keep those coming in. Later in the show, going to discuss SEC basketball tournament. Where does that rank in SEC events? I asked that question a little bit earlier, Greg. Did you have an immediate thought as to something else that would top it, that would be ahead of it?
I don't know if I'd have anything ahead of it.
I'd probably put the SEC championship game ahead of it.
Football?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep.
Not for me.
For me, yes.
Not for me. Football meathead, football guy. I think the event of basketball is constant. I mean, it's just constant action. I mean, you have 4 games tomorrow, the next day. Baseball would be great. You know my opinion on that. If it were split and you had 2 games of Regions, 2 games of Hoover, that would make it a 10+. Why? So we don't play games at 2 in the morning.
Some people like to stay up and get late baseball. I think it's better.
So those people don't have kids.
They have their RVs right around the corner. They
don't
can go
have kids
home.
that are 6.
Walk the parking lot and sleep.
1 a.m. would be a tough one for me.
All right, let's go to the Higginbotham hotline. Welcome in Lenny Acuff, head coach of the Lipscomb Bisons. They are heading to the NCAA tournament by getting that conference tourney win. Coach, I'm interested because at UAH, you won 8 Gulf South regular season titles, 3 tournament titles. You had a dominant run there. And I don't know what the actual projection was when you took this job. I don't know what the realistic thought of what could be, might be, was when you took this Lipscomb job. What was it compared to where you sit now, having a bid to the NCAA tournament?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, Cole and Greg. I listen to you guys and sure enjoy it. I think, it's really interesting, Cole. When you're in Division II, I would be less than honest if you don't sit there one day and say, hey, could we have the opportunity to do something like that at some point? But the reality of it is, in this business, there's not a lot of ADs that are comfortable hiring a Division II coach. For whatever reason, they think, and maybe it's valid, maybe it's not. But, I always thought if we had the opportunity, I'd love to see if we could go take our philosophy, our culture, our style of play, and elevate it a level and do well. The one unique thing, I know a lot of people probably don't know a lot about Lipscomb. Lipscomb has a really rich tradition in basketball. The year before I got here, they actually lost in the finals of the NIT, and they had some success. But when I took over the job, we lost 7,700 points that year. And so that was 6 years ago, and that was before the transfer portal. So there was no quick fix in it. And so, you just say, okay, we just got to figure this thing out. And we just started trying to do it the way we believed in. And, we've obviously had to adjust, in a lot of new information, you have the right to have a different opinion. And so we've changed a little bit, but we try to stay consistent to who we are. And I heard you guys visit a little bit earlier, like, guys, this conference tournament deal at this level is brutal.
Yeah.
It is brutal. Nothing like anything I've experienced, because most of the time at Huntsville, when we went to the Gulf South tournament, we were already in the NCAA tournament. You were playing, you wanted to win it, but you knew you had a mulligan in the bag. This deal here, there is none. And we've been fortunate enough to win 20 games the last 3 years, but the last 2 years we have lost in gut-wrenching fashion in the conference tournament. And so, there's a lot that rides on this deal, and we're thankful to have an opportunity, but I feel like we've built it with some consistency and a pretty good foundation, which is hard to do.
It feels like it's even harder now, because the second you identify a diamond in the rough and develop a player that can produce at an insanely high level at the mid-major level, next thing you know, they're gone. I mean, I look at Auburn's team, and they're comprised of a handful of guys that came up from smaller schools that now are playing in the SEC and starring on the number 1 ranked team in the country. So has it become even more challenging than when you took over 6 years ago to create a culture and to know what you're going to have on a year in, year out basis?
Yeah, it really is, Greg. And, that's interesting. You talk about Auburn. One of their best players is a kid that played at Huntsville, a Division II kid, Chaney Johnson. But everybody's like, well, why did he go to Huntsville High School? Because he was 6'3", 160 pounds. I mean, you know, he wasn't the same kid. And it's hard. I heard you, Cole, talking about watching College of Charleston and Wilmington last night. Number 4 for College of Charleston, Darren Boyd, who's a wonderful kid, and I'm still very close to. He was our leading scorer last year. And so he had 18 points in that game last night.
Yep.
And so you really have to do the best job you can. Like now, it's microwave recruiting. It's just bang, bang, bang. But we try really hard to be really deep in our vetting on, okay, what are we getting in terms of the human being? There's a lot changed, but we will double down on this. Is the first off, you have to have a level of talent. You win games when you have good players, but you also have to have kids that fit, and we really double down on character. I think you can win with tough kids. I think you can win with smart kids. And again, now there's got to be a level of talent. I mean, we have good players. That's why we've been able to win 25 games this year. There is no secrets to this stuff. But kids you want to coach and kids that you can coach. There's a big difference in managing and leading. You know, you manage things, you lead people. And so having a chance to have kids that want to be coached, that really care about winning, that put all their energy into winning, it's a big deal for us. And the other thing is, can you hang on to enough of your guys? We have 3 kids here, Jacob Obnakovich, Will Pruitt, and Joe Anderson, all 3 all-conference players. All 3 graduated last year and could have left and made a lot of money. And they decided to come back. And that gave us a running start at this thing. So I think that's a long-winded answer, but it's not an easy problem to solve.
Lenny Acuff joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, head coach of the Lipscomb Bisons. They are heading to the NCAA tournament for the second time ever as ASUN tournament champions. I'm interested in what you do right now, how you manage your team. You need rest, but obviously you don't want to be rusty for the tournament. You don't know who you're going to play. I don't know how scouting even you begin to look at it or try to go into it. Maybe you look at some potential bracket seedings of where you may end up. How are you sort of handling your team and you and your staff handling prep right now?
Yeah, I tell you what we did, Cole. You know, we played about 3 weeks ago. We lost at Eastern Kentucky, and I was hearing you guys talk about the regular season, and I think both of you guys can be right with college basketball, is that there's certain leagues, there's a minimization of like you were talking about, Delaware's going to play tonight in the championship game. They finished 12th. Where in our league, the home seed gets to play the high seed gets to play at home all the way through. And so, I don't know if you saw any of our game the other day, but it was an incredible environment.
The atmosphere was amazing, Coach.
It was really good, and I tip my hat to North Alabama. I mean, they brought a ton of folks. They've had a great year, and it was a great college basketball game. But, I've been here 6 years, guys, and you throw out COVID because we all went to Jacksonville on the neutral site. The home team has won that game 5 out of 5 all year it's been on the home site. So we knew it was probably going to come down to us in North Alabama. We finished as co-champs. We were very fortunate to get to get the tiebreaker, so we got to play at home. But that being said, with about 3 weeks out, we knew we had to probably win out, because if we lost a game, we weren't going to be the number 1 seed. And so when Sunday got here about 4 o'clock, I've got a really tired basketball team. And we start 4 fifth-year seniors. We also have an older team, and we really shortened our bench. We had 3 kids play 40 minutes the other day. So, we're going to get some rest. We gave them off yesterday. We'll work today. And then, for me, we'll go back to work, and practice on Wednesday. But for me, this is what's unique about this thing is any schools that you hear go Division I, if they do it, particularly a school like ours that doesn't play basketball, doesn't play football, they do it to try to get in the NCAA tournament, because what it can do for your school, the residual, is really important. And I know, Cole, you're from around here a little bit more than Greg. I mean, most people never even heard of Lipscomb. But now, this next 2 weeks is an opportunity for our school to have a chance to be on the national stage. So the last 2 days, when you texted me last night, obviously because I have a relationship with you and think of you, I was more willing to hop on. But that's all I've done is done interviews and just try to, tell our story, because that's a big opportunity for our university.
Huge. And it gives you a couple hour infomercial about what you guys are all about. So great opportunity for you guys coming up in the tournament a week and a half from now. Having come from the D2 ranks, and I've talked to Kalen DeBoer about this, and the amount of perspective that you probably have, more so than just about anybody, because you had to drive the bus in some cases. You had to figure out, all right, where are we going to do that? We had to, Kalen DeBoer said he had to make the sandwiches for the pregame meal. Now you get to the Division I level and the resources are different. Maybe not that of a Kentucky or a Duke, but still the resources are different. But having been where you came from, how does that alter your perspective about what was accomplished here with winning this championship?
Well, it's one of the hardest things to do in sports. The one thing I tell you what it absolutely does is it makes you appreciate the kids you coach. I mean, this is my 35th year as a head coach. I coached NAIA and Division II basketball for 29 years. And the other day, guys, we probably had 30 or 40 guys that played for me at that level that were here. And to get to experience that with that, and, you know, a lot of, I mean, it's a tough deal. It's a long road. And but I had unbelievable kids where I was, and just having the perspective of, you know what, we treated every team at Huntsville or Berry College like we were at Duke. I mean, it was a big deal. You know, that was those kids one shot at it. But when you get here, it's just different. I mean, I'd be much less than honest. And one thing I've learned too with all this, and you guys played at the highest level of football, every level has levels. I mean, like next week, Thursday or Friday, we're going to play a team. We are resourced, and we, for our level, our commitment is, our administration has a strong commitment to men's basketball, but it will pair in comparison to who we're about to play. And so, you know, you try to take advantage of the resources, but you also you want to be a developmental program. I think we have to keep doing that. And so just the things we've been able to add have given us a chance as we've gone along, just behind the scenes. And so I think we all fight for perspective. And, you know, the thing about coaching, a lot like life, is you're either humble or you're about to be. I mean, it's a tough deal because I was actually watching our game this morning, and with, you know, 2.5 minutes to go, it's a one possession game. And you better have a guy that can step up and make a play. And we have had a couple of guys do that, but it is different for sure, but it makes you appreciate the kids and the opportunities that were presented to you because of a lot of other people.
Does it help you that you played Arkansas and Kentucky this year? Do you sort of lean on that? Do you compare things to that from a matchup, speed, size, athleticism perspective of what you may get in the first round?
Yeah, and because we have older team, Cole, we have to get bought 5 times a year. You know, that's where they pay us basically to come in and beat us. And so since we've been here, we've been able. We won at Florida State last year. We won at Louisville. We won at Dayton. We lost by 1 at Notre Dame. We actually played well at Arkansas. We were down 4 to go. And so you draw on those things. The other thing that we're able to do, the Kentucky analogy is a good one, because when we played up there, that was a one game we weren't very competitive. And I told our guys after the game, I said, if we're fortunate enough to get to the NCAA tournament, I said, this is what it's going to look like. So we have to figure out, let's take what we learned tonight and let's go back to work and figure out a way to close that gap. And in all honesty, and this is going to be the formula no matter who we play, we did not play poorly at Kentucky. We shot poorly. And in basketball, those are totally different things. You know, it's a good or bad shot when it leaves your hand. You know, they're not trying to miss them. We only turned it over 6 times, but they made like 15 threes, and we made 5 or 6. You have no chance if that's the case. But we will draw upon that, and I think our guys, because we have an older team that's played in a lot of those venues, and that's what's the beauty of doing it early in the year, is that it gives you a chance to, okay, this is what it looks like. And so you're not walking out there with a naive attitude about it.
It's a pretty cool way to state it there, Coach, that we didn't play poorly, we shot poorly. I haven't heard another coach say that. And it's there are a lot of analogies through other sports I think that you could use that way that are not, and keep things much less negative for your team coming off of a loss and trying to move forward. But we're happy for you. I think it's cool you're going to be dancing. We'll be watching. We'll be rooting for you, and we appreciate you taking some time for us this morning.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys and congratulations for all your success. Real happy for you guys.
Thank you, Coach. Congrats to you as well. There you go.
All right. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. Lenny Acuff, Lipscomb Bison's head coach, making their second appearance in the NCAA tournament, spending some time with us there on the Higginbotham hotline. We'll talk a little bit more about that visit and get back to some of the topics from segment 1 next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is 7:43, Tuesday, March 11th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Great visit with Lenny Acuff, longtime UAH head basketball coach, now head basketball coach at Lipscomb. And one thing that he dropped on us, Craig, was that Lipscomb's basketball history pretty solid. And something that I think you'd probably have to kind of look into really to understand. They're 25-9 this season. They did get an NAIA national championship in 1986. And I will ask you the significance of former players John Pierce and Phil Hutchinson. Does anybody want to take a guess at what those two might historically own?
Pierce and Hutchinson?
That would be correct, yes. John Pierce and Phil Hutchinson.
What do they own?
Or what have they done, accomplished? What is their college basketball relevance historically?
I don't know.
Both played at Lipscomb first.
Got that.
Number one, Phil Hutchinson became all of basketball's all-time leading scorer with 4,106 points, only to have that record broken by his teammate John Pierce the following year with 4,230 points. So they have the first and second all-time leading scorer at all levels of basketball. Pierce, by the way, his career at Lipscomb, he was 129 and 19.
129-19.
Feels pretty good.
That's it. It's decent.
Yeah.
Feel good about that?
Probably used to winning at that point.
Do you like that?
Not dealing well with losses at that point.
Not used to it.
Not something that we like and that we have to do very often. But it's some of the answers there from Coach Acuff, just cool to hear, because kind of how you prepare. I loved his thought process there on losing at Kentucky. You don't hear a lot of coaches sort of pull a different narrative out of the big narrative to make it feel more realistic or make it feel a little bit more positive. We always say, it's never good to lose, but you do want to try to find positives in how you performed and to say, hey, we didn't play bad, we just shot bad.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to sort of help your team deal with that moving forward.
But I understand exactly what he means when he says that.
No, for sure.
I mean, it makes perfect sense because I feel like I watch these guys all the time.
But how often do you hear a football coach say, guys, we played great, we just couldn't run the football? It says, if we run the football, we win the game. You don't hear that from football coaches. It's just, hey, we played bad. We weren't just physical enough. We didn't get the job done at the line of scrimmage. It's very rarely, hey, there was one aspect that just kept us from winning. Otherwise, we performed well.
Sure, and I'm fine with that. To me, it feels a little glass half full, but I respect the heck out of that approach this time of year for sure.
We're going to give you some added value right here on Jocks. I want to introduce you to our friend and wealth advisor, Tad Hill, your trusted retirement planning partner. Tad's the co-host of the Retire with Freedom radio and TV shows. Birmingham and Huntsville, also been designated by Forbes as the #1 financial securities professional in the state of Alabama multiple years running. Tad, what do you have for us today?
Thanks, Cole. What I want to do today is talk about the foundation of retirement planning, which is income planning. And what income planning boils down to is how are you going to replace the income that you need in retirement once your paychecks stop? First, we have to figure out exactly how much are you going to need from your savings and investments. We need to start with how much is going out the door, and then exactly what can you expect from sources of income like Social Security and pension. And then the conversation shifts to what are the strategies that you can employ to ensure that you don't run out of income in retirement. All of these are things that we cover in detail in our Retire with Freedom course that we teach in our office on Valleydale Road. If you would like to get signed up for that, text JOX, J-O-X, to 205-988-0006. That's 988-0006.
This is a paid placement. Investment advisory services are made available through AE Wealth Management. For more information about Forbes rankings, visit Forbes.com.
Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us. Great visit with Lenny Acuff. If you missed it, head coach of Lipscomb, go to jocksfm.com. Grab the podcast now. It's 7:49, Tuesday, March 11th. We've talked a lot of basketball. We've talked best sporting events, and is the NCAA tournament number one. Not really sure exactly how to phrase it. 800-239-9569 if you want to get in. Greg says Masters, number one for him.
Not
by
what
a long
I said.
shot. Said Super Bowl, not in his top three. But you give us your best sporting events, either day, event, game, whatever that is. Going to be different for some people, but obviously I think the NCAA tournament going to be in almost everybody's top three at least. If you're talking about events or days or things that you want to tune into, dial into, it has a way of bringing in people that just have, I think, very little interest in it in a regular basis. Because of the stories, let's be honest, the brackets are the biggest part of it. I mean, we had extra credit in a history class at Homewood High School for winning your bracket. I mean, that's
really.
I mean, it was like 1 point on one test, but
really,
it was there. I mean, it was.
I hope everybody heard that. It makes way more sense now.
I didn't win, so I don't know. I didn't get the extra point. So yeah, it makes extra sense, and my GPA wasn't as high, I guess.
At least they didn't pull a Neuheisel back in high school.
What was that?
Making it technically illegal by yeah.
You're not supposed to do that as a coach. Yeah, I don't know. Have we moved on from that? No, you're not allowed to do. Not on college.
Gotcha.
Yeah, can't. No.
All right.
Not real. But nonetheless, is there, John? Is there something at the top of your list other than the NCAA tournament?
I really, really do enjoy that first Saturday of college football. I mean, yes, it's college football, but there's something about that. Just even though there have been a couple of games, you've had a Thursday night and a Friday night game, and typically a week 0. But that first day of all day, knowing that you're going to veg out for 12-ish or so hours, it's I don't know. It's something about the start of something, because probably my 3 favorite days are the opening Thursday of the tournament, opening day of college football, and opening day of baseball.
The problem with in baseball is almost going this way also. And the NCAA tournament's done a little bit too. The play-in games to kind of ruin it.
Yeah.
This, whether it's the Japan series or even when they try to do the World Baseball Classic, like they kind of try to interfere with opening day a little bit. And now college football does that. You have, the week 0, you have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday lead up.
The Ireland game.
Yeah, it's hard. You don't just have like that day anymore.
And even baseball have a opening day, like a game at night, and then all day opening day. It's like, well, You can't just wait till tomorrow.
It didn't used to be that.
Yeah.
It used to, everybody played that first day, and if the team or two didn't play on that day, their first game was the next day. And obviously the NFL has their Thursday night game, which is
Friday night, a game from Brazil.
Yeah, a little bit more of a standalone because it's just the one game. But a lot of sports have interfered with that initial day, including the NCAA tournament with those playing games. Which it's great to have games on, but it also I do think it just barely takes a little bit away from day one because you've already had technically a couple of games.
Yeah,
we should get used to that because now we're going to have more of them.
It's an appetizer. Like I watch week 0 because I'm a freak. I don't think everybody's, sitting there on the edge of their seat watching Georgia Tech, Florida State. And the numbers support that that's not the case. So I think there's something about Labor Day weekend that is just really consumable for the college football audience. I really enjoy it. I like that we now have a game or 2 on Sunday.
Yeah, the follow-ups have almost gotten better than the lead-in.
So I'm great with it. I think it's a great culmination of the summer, a way to kick off the new year, way to kick off the school year, so to speak, even though I know we're already in school at that point. But Labor Day, I feel like, is when things really get going.
Yeah, so it's a good start.
I think Labor Day weekend's phenomenal for all sports. You got baseball, you got baseball, and then you obviously got football as well.
Yeah, you tweet yours in. Let us know where yours is. Speaking of getting off to a good start, starting off a good year, you want to do that healthy, and you can do it at Game Day Men's Health. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. If maybe you put on a few pounds over the holidays, they have multiple weight loss programs they can help you with. And you can get a free consultation at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. With that, you can get the free PSA test, free testosterone test, or go talk to them about the weight loss options they have in store. And by the way, go in, mention Cube, save 10% on any service that they have at Game Day Men's Health. Locker room environment, not going to try to pressure you into programs that you don't need. Holistic approach to health and wellness. Peptides now available as well for multiple different ailments. Minimal upfront cost for the programs that they offer right there at Game Day Men's Health. It's easy. All you have to do, get your year off to a good start. Get your spring off to a better start. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Book that free consultation today and tell them you heard about them right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. So we'll have folks chiming in on theirs. Andy Burcham will join us next to recap Alabama-Auburn from over the weekend. We'll look ahead to the SEC tournament. What he thinks that rest is going to do for this basketball team, what he expects from the Auburn Tigers in Nashville. After that, Scott Cross, Troy head basketball coach, another coach that's going to be in the NCAA tournament, will join us as Troy wrapped up that Sun Belt tournament title last night with a 94-81 win against Arkansas State. So the teams are beginning to present themselves of who's going to be in. The OVC's got SIU Edwardsville. The Big South's going to have High Point in the NCAA tournament. The ASUN's got Lipscomb, we mentioned. Missouri Valley has Drake in. Troy from the Sun Belt, of course, is in, and Wofford from the SoCon are in. We'll give a couple more bids away today in college basketball, and we'll talk a little bit more hoops when we return on the other side with Andy Burcham of the Auburn Network. What he saw from Auburn's loss to Alabama, what he thinks about the Tigers no longer being number one. Could that be a little bit of extra motivation for them heading to Nashville to potentially go try to win the SEC basketball tournament? And what he thinks about maybe different SEC events and which one would rank at the top of his list. We'll discuss all that and more next right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning on Jocks 94.5. All right, hour number 2 underway, Tuesday, March 11th, 8 a.m., Jocks 94.5. Talk a little bit more college basketball. Auburn goes down to Alabama over the weekend, still the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament, which begins for Auburn on Friday. Andy Burcham was on the call of Auburn, Alabama over the weekend, and he joins us at this time each and every week thanks to our friends at Craneworks.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
The voice of the Auburn Tigers, Andy Burcham, on Mac and Cube in the Morning is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it, the big dog's got it. Now, Andy Burcham.
Andy, always great to have you in on a Tuesday. That game just felt like March, and there are certain basketball games that might not be a part of a conference or the NCAA tournament that sort of feel that way. The time of year obviously helps. Being a rivalry game helps. But just how would you describe it? Back and forth, physical, chippy, both teams chirping a little bit at different points in times, and you go to overtime as well. I mean, what was it like being at that game, being in the middle of that basketball game?
It was a heartbreaking finish to a fabulous basketball game. I mean, it was truly a great basketball game to call. Now, did it come out the way that I was hoping? Obviously, no. But it had everything in it. I mean, it had every facet of the game in it, including the buzzer beater by Mark Sears at the end. And it was just a very, very good basketball game by two teams that have a great potential to make an incredibly deep run, not only in the SEC tournament coming up this week in Nashville, but the NCAA tournament as well.
A lot of people were frustrated with the officiating. I for one, didn't feel like it was anything too egregious. But then again, I never really look at it through the lens of the officials. How did you feel from your vantage point?
It is an incredibly tough game to call in this day and age because, and especially in the SEC, it has become such a physical basketball league. So I can't tell you. I mean, I've never officiated a basketball game before, and I've got to tell you that I think that it's incredibly hard to do. And there were calls on both sides that that their fans and their coaches and their team felt that it should have gone the other way. But it did not come down to officials for the outcome of that basketball game on Saturday. It came down to Grant Nelson having a very, very good game. It came down to the buzzer beater by Mark Sears. It came down to what was a career high for Janai Broome on Saturday. And Alabama's ability to get to the rim and get key offensive rebounds was the difference in that game. It was not the officials.
Andy Burcham joining us on the Buyers Right hotline, the Higginbotham hotline. He does so each and every week thanks to Craneworks. They'll have a little time off. It feels like this team needs it. It feels like this team needs a little bit of a break. What do you expect to see Friday morning that might be a little better, a little bit different about Bruce Pearl's group?
I think both of these teams need a little bit of a break, quite frankly, because both of these teams are off now until Friday. And for Auburn, it is a chance to heal up and get as strong as it possibly can at this time of the year. The one thing that happened to Auburn in both of its losses last week, especially at Texas A&M and to a degree in the Alabama game, was the offensive rebounds by the opponent. Texas A&M had 24 offensive rebounds, and that turned into 27 second-chance points in that game. Alabama, in key moments, got to the rim with offensive rebounds, Nelson primarily and Amori, and turned that into second-chance points. And some not only turned into second-chance points, but three-point plays as well. And if there's one area that I want to see Auburn improve in the most, it's its rebounding right now. I want to see Denver Jones get healthier with that ankle. I think Janai Broome could use a little time to rest up the ankle and his shoulder as well. And Chad Baker-Mazara as well. He's battered and bruised because he's not a real big guy and tries to play a very physical basketball, a brand of basketball. So those are the things. But to me, the thing that Auburn has to get better at is on the boards. and keeping opponents off the offensive glass.
Looking at the bracket right now, I think they're all tough draws. They're all challenging depending on who you get. But you could be awaiting the winner of Tennessee A&M, and that to me is going to be a bloodbath. We've seen those teams likely if Auburn can get through the first round or the first game that they're playing, they're going to play a team that's probably a little beat up, just based on the physicality that those teams play with. So, how do you like the draw, and how do you like how the bracket has set up for the Tigers?
Well, I don't want to overlook the first game that Auburn will play, because until last year, Auburn hadn't been out of the first round or its first round in the SEC tournament since 2019. So it had been a while since Auburn had actually played on its second day of the tournament. So you can't look past that first game on Friday. If Auburn does make it past then, and you get either the potential of either Arkansas or Tennessee, and Auburn beat both of those teams at Neville. Both of those games were very close. Both of those games were really low-scoring games. Remember, the Tennessee game was in the 50s when Auburn won that game. And the Arkansas game was very low-scoring as well. And, yes, that day before, if Tennessee and Arkansas play on Friday, that will be a rock. That's what we call a rock fight now in college basketball, because both of those teams are big and physical. Tennessee is deeper than Arkansas. I think Arkansas is trying to play its way into the NCAA tournament right now. It may be in right now already, but a win on a Friday against the Tennessee would certainly, I think, cement that for Arkansas. And if it is Auburn and Arkansas or Tennessee, good night. Get ready. I mean, Auburn's game last year in its first game of the tournament against Mississippi State was the same kind of game. It was crazy physical. And I think if Auburn wins on Friday and plays on Saturday against Arkansas or Tennessee, it would be the exact same way.
Andy Burcham joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, thanks to Craneworks. A big topic of conversation yesterday, Andy, and has been in a lot of places, has been about Chad Baker-Mazara and what happened in the game against Alabama, and what we have seen, unfortunately, multiple times from him in his career. I referenced it yesterday as just Bruce has to find a way to manage what his team could be at risk for when he's in the lineup. How do you anticipate he alters anything as it pertains to his minutes in this tournament or in the NCAA tournament?
Guys, I've not heard anything that would lead me to believe that Auburn's going to do anything to limit minutes for Chad Baker-Mazara at this point. Now, I do think that Auburn is addressing that Bruce and that coaching staff is addressing it with Chad Baker-Mazara, because it's happened twice now in big games inside a year. It happened against Yale, we know, in the NCAA tournament last year, in the first game of that tournament a year ago, and it happened on Saturday. And in both of those games, Auburn lost games closely. So it's obviously a factor, but to say that Auburn needs to sit him, or I just don't think Auburn will. I mean, he was kicked out of the game on Saturday. I know that is being addressed at some and maybe multiple levels. And it may not just be the coaches. It may be his teammates that are saying to Chad, you're too valuable to be in the locker room in a big game. We've seen that twice now. We can't see that again. So listen, I don't know of anything right now. I was not around the team yesterday. I'm traveling today for baseball up in Madison as Auburn plays UT Martin. And then the team goes on to Nashville Wednesday, and I'll be traveling separate from the team. So I've not talked to anybody at this point about, and I know that there's a great deal of discussion about it at this moment. But listen, Chad's a very valuable part of this basketball team. He's a third-team All-SEC selection. He has an opportunity, I think, to come back next year if everything pans out as we have seen. And I just think it's something that Auburn addresses with Chad, and you move forward and you do everything you can to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
It is one thing if it happens. I get that it happens. Emotions run high. But is there something in your experience, having been around basketball or all sports, that Bruce could do, or that someone could do, one of his teammates could do, to kind of calm him down? As you see, there were probably 2 or 3 instances in which it could have been a flagrant 1, even prior to the flagrant 2 that was called later in the game. So is there anything that you think you could do to kind of maybe settle things down to make sure it doesn't spiral out of control like that?
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know, Greg. Surely there's, if you go in knowing that, and let me say this as well, okay? Each time that it has happened, he has retaliated, okay? I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but there have been things that have happened to him that he's retaliated as a result of. So he has to do his very, very dead level best not to retaliate. It happened last year in the Yale game. He had been hit, and then he retaliated. They saw the retaliation and threw him out of the game. I don't believe that. I don't believe last year at Yale warranted a flagrant 2. I just don't.
Yeah, not in the tournament. Opinion. It was. I agree with you. I thought that was a little over the top. I remember it. The video was making its rounds the last couple days. I agree with you. Sure. I thought it was a little over the top in the tournament of all places.
At the time when they announced the flagrant 2 on Saturday, it caught me off guard a little bit. You go back and look at it, and I can understand it. Okay. But guys, exactly how Auburn handles this as a team, as a staff, how Chad handles this individually remains to be seen at this point. I understand how it's being discussed this week because it was a major point of that game, 10:52, I think it was the time when that occurred, and Auburn lost him for the rest of that game, and you lose a scorer, you lose a very good defender, you lose one of the best free throw shooters in the Southeastern Conference, and you lose depth as a result of that. He is an important part of this team, an important part of these games, and he has to make sure that it doesn't happen again. That's all I can say.
Andy, we always appreciate the time, always appreciate your visits, and we'll recap all of the SEC tournament and Auburn's action when you join us a week from today, and we'll obviously know where they're headed for the NCAA tournament, and you'll be traveling with the team for that as well. But each and every week you're brought to us by Craneworks.
And RentalWorks offers a full line of rental equipment for any of your machinery needs. They also offer operators for every type of equipment as well. They can supply the equipment you need, plus the man to do the job. Go to craneworks.com for a quote in Birmingham, Nashville, Mobile, and Huntsville. Baseball tonight, we're on the air at 5:45. And then, of course, on Friday, Auburn and whoever the Tigers play in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. Our coverage right here on Jocks begins at 11:30. Guys, have a great week. War Eagle.
War Eagle. Thank you, Andy. Great stuff. Andy Burcham of the Auburn Network joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. We'll talk SEC tournament, continue our conversation of where it ranks among SEC events right after this on Jocks 94.5. We will visit with Troy head basketball coach Scott Cross here in just a moment. Automatic bids heading into the NCAA tournament. SIU Edwardsville from the Ohio Valley Conference. Brad Barone's got the Cougars heading there for the third time ever. High Point making their first NCAA tournament appearance from the Big South. Alan Hess's team has 29 wins, tied for second most in college basketball. They've won 14 straight, by the way, also. Came to Division I in 1999-2000. We visited with Lenny Acuff, the Lipscomb head basketball coach. Bison's going for the second time ever, 2018 last time they went. Drake is going to go from the Missouri Valley Conference. That's one that I would have thought, you said Lipscomb earlier. Listen, 8 NCAA tournaments for a team from the Missouri Valley is great. I thought Drake would have had more than that. That was the team that I kind of thought, like after 2000, had probably been in 12, 13 tournaments.
Yeah, right.
Just they felt like it was every year for a while. They did go to the Final Four in
1967.
1904.
69.
Ooh, felt good about it.
So Ben McCollum's team making their third straight NCAA tournament appearance. Troy is in. We'll have Scott Cross, their head coach, on in just a moment. Third appearance. They have not won a tournament game. Last time there, 2017. And Wofford making their sixth NCAA tournament appearance. 1-5 all time. 2019, their last tournament appearance. Dwight Perry's got that Terrier team heading into the NCAA tournament. So it's a fun time of the year. And we just asked the question a little bit earlier with some of our listeners where the NCAA tournament ranks. Would that be number one on your list of sporting events, sporting days, maybe first day of the tournament? Is that number one for you? And then obviously SEC basketball tournament as well. Where does that thing rank? Like, how much do you love that? So we'll continue discussing all of that and more when you're thinking about sporting events that you love so much. Some of these conference tournaments have also been excellent. Sun Belt tournament was no different. And the Troy Trojans are going to make their way into the NCAA tournament by winning the Sun Belt title. Their head coach, Scott Cross, joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. And, Coach, your team had to share the regular season title. Did you use the fact that part of that was shared as maybe a little extra motivation to say, hey, if we want something outright, we're going to have to go get this Sun Belt tournament title, obviously with an NCAA tournament bid on the line as well?
I didn't, lost my voice from last night, but didn't specifically talk about that. But, you know, the message to our guys is we had lost 5 conference games by a combined 14 points. I felt like we were the best team in the league. But, again, there were messages, there were lessons to be learned that kept showing up. And our guys finally came together with a toughness and a togetherness that really helped us carry us through the conference tournament.
And when knowing that it's a situation, Coach, and things are tight, you know, second half, going into the second half with a slight deficit and then just turning on the Jets there to finish, how much satisfaction does that give you to see the guys finish like that with the season on the line?
Yeah, I mean, I think with 8 minutes to go, we may have been down 9, and I kind of got after the guys in the timeout, and they really responded. They came out, they played way tougher. We were able to get stops, and then all of a sudden, Tate Conaway got going, and you know, guys were diving on the floor, and everything changed. I mean, it was one of the quickest, fastest turnarounds that I've ever been a part of as a coach. It's almost surreal, you know, the way it happened, but. You know, thankful to the good Lord that it did, and you know, I'm lucky to coach these guys that are so tough.
How do you manage sort of momentum swings or runs with your team? I'm more interested in how you handle it on the other side. When do you actually notice that a team is all right? Is it 6-0? Is it 8-0? Is it 3 possessions, 4 possessions? Is there a moment that you kind of understand? Okay, this is happening. This wave is actually here now. And we have to find a way to combat that. How do you address that, be it in game or with your team during a timeout?
Yeah, you know, I had to tell them a couple times, you know, just take a deep breath. And a lot of times you tell them that and nobody takes a deep breath, and you'll have to tell them, no, let me see your shoulders go up and down. You know, you guys got to relax. You know, sometimes it's so hard. I mean, they want it so bad. Sometimes they put so much pressure on themselves to go make shots, and they just have to relax. Then other times, you know, if we're not playing as hard as I think we are, then, you know, you have to get after them a little bit. And, you know, that's a different set of circumstances. And, it's not pretty in the timeouts. That's not my favorite part of being a coach. But, you have to get the guys with that toughness mindset. And, we've been tough all year long. And, like I said, I'm very fortunate to have such a tough group of guys that, they'll lay it out all on the line every single game for us.
It certainly seems that way. How do you battle that, though? I mean, I know how you approach a regular season game and what you would normally do when approaching it that way. But I would think in a postseason game where your life is on the line, the approach is vastly different. Do you find yourself being maybe a little more glass half full when coaching in a tournament game?
Yeah, you try and give them a little bit more confidence, probably. Just kind of keep things loose and light, and let them turn up the music and get themselves in the right frame of mind, and talk about how we're the best team and this and that. If we're playing a team that we know we should beat by 15 or 20 points, that's when we have to get after them a little bit more before the game and try and get them motivated. But who can't be motivated in a conference tournament with a chance to play in the NCAA tournament? I mean, that's what we live for. That's what we work so hard for. So they're going to be amped up for that. And a lot of times it's just trying to keep them loose before the game, and because they're going to go out there and play hard at the beginning of the game.
We're visiting with Scott Cross, Troy head basketball coach. Trojans heading to the NCAA tournament. You've been there before with Texas Arlington. Coached in a NCAA tournament game. Is there something that you will bring to this team from that experience, something that you will definitively leave out from that experience? It can be as small as uniforms, how the locker room is set up, when you get to the arena. Is there something that you definitively remember from that experience saying, I know I'll never do that again, or I will definitively do that every time I go to that NCAA tournament?
Well, I remember playing Coach Cal in Memphis, and he had the best team in the country with Derrick Rose. And so, I mean, it was a 1 versus 16 seed. And, our guys laid it all on the line. But, I mean, we were going against, 5 NBA guys, and so we were just overmatched. But, I think for the most part, we'll let our guys, enjoy it for the next 2 days, and then we're going to really get back to work. This is a different team. I believe we'll be at least a 14 seed. 14 seeds, at least 1 or 2 seem to win every single year. And so we're going to go in there with the mentality that we can, if we play our best, we can definitely win 1 or 2 games here in the NCAA tournament. And, I think in Arlington, when we were the 16th seed, we had that attitude, but probably didn't believe it quite as much. I do believe our guys will go in there feeling like they can definitely win a game in the NCAA tournament.
What is the message going into a game like? Obviously, it's 1 versus a 16. It's like, hey boys, let's go out there and give them all we got. I mean, what is the message though when you are going to be in a position statistically to possibly win? I mean, we see it like you said, 1 out of 4 of the 14 seeds win every year. So it's kind of amazing when you average it out over time. How will the message differ from the one you delivered the last time in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want them to go out there and enjoy the moment. We want them to play like it's no different than any other game. It's an opportunity to show the world how talented they are and how tough they are. And so they've got nothing to lose. Again, this is what they've worked so hard for over the last, 8 months, and here we are, and let's go out there and shock the world. I mean, I do believe every single one of the guys believe that we can win.
Coach Scott Cross joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I have to, maybe you've done this before, I don't know, but having brothers on a basketball team at this level, Marcus and Miles Rigsby, now going to go to the NCAA tournament together. It's got to be super cool for them and their family, obviously, but just how has that dynamic been for you as a coach? Has it been any different managing those two, be it that they did grow up together?
Yeah, it's pretty special. I mean, when we recruited them, that's what we talked about, how amazing that would be to win a championship, just to be on the court with your brother. They both start for us. They're a huge part of our success and what we do. And, to see it all, all come to fruition is pretty special. We also have another group of brothers on our team, and Cooper Campbell and Kobe Campbell. Kobe's redshirted this year. He had hip surgery, but his brother plays a lot of minutes for us at the point guard. And so, yeah, we have a lot of unique deals on our team like that. And the Rigsby brothers are a special group, and two of the toughest, best defenders I've ever been around, and we're a big part of our championship run here.
So that's just a recruiting strategy of yours. Then by now, you're just going and looking for a 2-for-1 deal when you're out recruiting.
Yeah, just go recruit brothers.
There you go.
That's easy enough. I mean, just go find a couple twins every once in a while, and hopefully they're both 7 feet. I mean, it's how hard can this be? Why hasn't anyone else thought of this?
Yeah, we hadn't found the 7-footers yet, but 4 pretty good guards for sure.
I love that. When you look at kind of the approach of a mid-major team, and a team that has good resources and access to good players, you have a couple guys, I mean, one of which from Dothan. I mean, you have some guys that are hyper-local that are right down the road. How have you managed the recruiting world in putting together the roster? Because we have good basketball in Alabama, so I think you can probably recruit your own backyard, but there's probably some appeal to go get a retread potentially from Kentucky that would transfer down. How have you approached it?
Yeah, we've signed the majority of high school guys, and with a couple of junior college guys sprinkled in there. We have not had success with the transfer portal the last year or two. We definitely want to recruit local. We have one of your very own, Carrington Keel from Ramsey High School, who played minutes last night and helped us win. And Thomas Dowd is an absolute beast out on the floor, one of the toughest guys I've ever coached, as you mentioned, from Dothan High School. He's a warrior, and both those guys are amazing to coach. I mean, I wake up every morning fired up to coach guys like Thomas Dowd and Carrington Keel.
Coach, I want to get one more in with you. You are going to bring the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year to the NCAA tournament, and Taden Connerway, a guy who just does everything, literally. Over 4 assists per game, over 4 rebounds per game, 3 steals a game, averages 14 a game. Give us something about him that we need to know heading into the tournament that we don't see watching him play basketball.
I guess you would probably see it, but I think the thing that really makes him special is, like, he's such a dynamic scorer, but his ability to create for his teammates and create open shots is what I think sets him apart from everybody else. And, guys like that are guys that play at the highest level. I mean, that's where the NBA guys, really set themselves apart with their vision and their passing. The LeBron James, Lucas, those type of guys that just have that knack for, making the right read. Basketball is such a fast, high-paced game, and to have somebody that can really read the defense sets you apart.
Well, Coach, we're happy for you, proud of you, going to be rooting for you. Thank you so much for taking time with us today. Best of luck in the NCAA tournament.
Thank you for having me on. Have a great day.
Thank you. There you go. Scott Cross, Troy head basketball coach, got the Trojans in the big dance, the NCAA tournament for the 3rd time ever, first time since 2017. 2 sets of brothers on one team.
2 sets of brothers. Pretty good.
It's one thing for a football team when you got 85 scholarship guys, 100 guys on your team.
When you got 12, and 4 of them are brothers, and they all in the backcourt. Pretty good.
Like, that could actually be a really nice because you also think about the recruiting strategy of, well, I guess portal, you lose 1, good chance you're losing 2, but better chance to maybe keep those 2 also.
Yeah,
because,
for sure.
Maybe one gets an offer from somewhere else, but the other doesn't, so they want to stay together. Feels like that could also help your recruiting budget a little bit. You're going to one place to recruit 2 guys.
Yeah, less travel. There you go.
I think he's got this thing figured out.
I think that's all you got to do is just find the guys.
Yeah, just find more Mobley twins, and you'll be good. You just get that going.
It's not that hard.
Best basketball brother combination ever.
The twins that played at Stanford.
Madsons?
No. I'm blanking on their name right now. One place, Brooks Lopez.
Oh, the Lopez twins were good. That's a good one.
All right.
But it doesn't have to be twins, though. Like just brothers.
I don't care. I like twins.
Oh, LaGello. And all that.
Oh, yeah, LaGello. LaGello Bond.
What's the best? Who is the best after LaMelo? Serious question.
Lonzo.
And where does?
Lonzo just got breaded. He's paid. Chicago.
Okay. Well, then that's got to be up there.
Yeah, they're in the top 10 brothers.
I think we've only named like 3.
So,
the
yes.
Mobley twins. I mean, who else is even close?
Do you think because of his greatness, he brings the other one up, but Steph Curry?
I think the fact that their dad played in the NBA also helps just a little bit.
Like Giannis and Thanasis, like combined, they're so great that even if one's, kind of not really helping.
I mean, Seth was in the league for
No, he was.
years,
I mean, he played at Duke. Let's not forget that.
You get credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't some spare. He played. This wouldn't have been my first overall.
There's not as many
pick.
as you think when you get going with it. I mean, you feel like they'd be easy to rattle off, but I feel like what's that?
Powell and Mark.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, that is a really good one because I think Powell is probably a lot better than people give him actual credit for in his NBA career.
Powell was great.
I know that, but I just don't think people reference him as like a top 100 player ever, and I think he might be in that category.
LeBron and Bronny.
They're actually not brothers.
Different, yeah, other kind, yeah.
Oh, that's right. He's his son.
Yeah.
I haven't read that.
Just because he says bro, that it doesn't mean brother. Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks for walking me through that. I appreciate it.
Tell our listeners about Shannara Flooring.
Shannara Flooring is terrific, and they have built their company on trust and integrity. That's what Fu wanted to prioritize when he started Shannara Flooring many years ago, and they have now accelerated to the top of the flooring industry here in the greater Birmingham area. They're the only company in the area that stocks 40,000 square feet of Core-Tech flooring in Shaw at all times. 40,000 square feet. So if you need it installed today or tomorrow, they could probably make it happen for you. You just got to call them because they are awesome. This Shaw flooring is the best. 100% waterproof, kid-proof, pet-proof, brings value to your home or business. They're very easy to clean. They're very easy to maintain. They're ideal for kitchens, laundry rooms, bathrooms, and really anywhere. It's just terrific stuff. You get 12 months financing with approved credit. So if you're thinking about making some adjustments to your floors, call Fu. Call them at 205-518-6423 or go online at fuandyou.com.
So we will continue talking SEC basketball tournament just within SEC events. Where would it rank? That and more next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8:37 a.m. Tuesday, March 11th, Jocks 94.5. We do have a couple folks chiming in on basketball brothers. Feels like there may be one or two out there that we left out, didn't get to, that was a little bit easier. Alex Page tweets in, Jason and Jared Collins also played at Stanford before the Lopez brothers.
I remember them.
Should we have had them?
I don't remember if they were good.
At the top?
I don't remember.
I think they were solid. Remember them playing just a little bit.
It was a little before my time. Before I was like watching Utah Jazz basketball.
Just a smidge.
In 01.
There are some other brothers that are popping in that people are chiming in with and discussing, which could take us to different sports with this conversation. And there's a couple of different ways that you could have that. Also, you have Alan Dick McGuire, who could be a part of the basketball conversation for different ways as well. Could go a couple of different ways. But if you went, is there a definitive all-time brother combination in sports in general?
Ooh, I mean, Peyton and Eli.
That's top of the list?
Gotta be.
Not Jose and Ozzie Canseco.
Ozzie Canseco?
Correct.
I didn't know he
Great
existed.
minor league career.
Okay. Mark and what's his face, McGuire? Dan. Played
at San Diego State and
different
for the
sports.
Seahawks, by the way.
Different sports.
That actually, I think, makes it better. What about the Klitschko brothers?
Pretty good.
Both holders of heavyweight titles at one point in time.
Yeah, niche sport, but pretty good.
You taking the Mannings or the Matthews family?
Matthews family.
Not brothers.
Matthews family's
entire
pretty good.
family.
I still take Mannings, but Matthews family's pretty good.
Tiki and Rondé?
It's a good one. They should definitely be up there. Do they both have Super Bowls?
Yes.
I know Rondé does. I don't know if Tiki was on
Tiki,
that.
I think,
Eli.
was on the
the
Giants.
first Eli?
He might have retired just before.
I thought he was just before.
He might have retired just before that first one in 07. We need to double check.
Pedro and Ramon Martinez kind of fly under the radar because Ramon Martinez was pretty good there for a minute for the Dodgers. That's one that I don't think gets
so good that I literally don't remember him.
Well, you weren't really alive, I don't think.
Okay. That helps.
Yep. What about the Harbaugh brothers? Now, obviously not both for playing, but you take into consideration some of the playing and the coaching, that's got to be up there, right?
Yeah, heck yeah. Really good.
For doing siblings, you've got the Williams sisters.
Williams sisters should be up there.
That's a good one.
Reggie Miller and his sister Cheryl.
That's actually a really good one.
Really good. That's probably, I might take the cake.
Which one? Williams or
Cheryl
Millers?
And Reggie Miller? Like two of the best players ever.
There's no doubt.
That might take the cake.
How many are going to leave them off just because they don't like Reggie?
No, that's fine if you don't like Reggie. You can still respect Reggie. You don't have to be a fan. The guy was good.
He's awesome.
I didn't like him either.
If Spike Lee can like him now, you can like,
great player.
He got over it.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
A lot of people are going to leave him out though just because they don't like him.
He wasn't bad.
The other thing is Reggie Miller, if you think about, was shooting what? Probably 8 to 10 threes a game max, 6 to 8 threes a game.
Yeah.
These guys now are putting up 20 a game, 18 a game.
8 a quarter, yeah.
Kelsey brothers up there?
Yeah. Probably. I mean, how does Jason fit on all-time great players at his position? One of the best, right?
Who's the number 3 football family? Harbaughs or Longs?
Or the Watts?
Stoops family runs deep.
Watt's pretty good. I'm trying to think of some others.
Vontae and Vernon Davis?
No.
Not
Narrowly missed.
Not quite on that level?
McCourty's?
Not quite. No.
Both on TV now.
Danny Amendola, Wes Welker?
Patriot Brothers.
Okay,
Patriot
Brothers. Where to go with that?
Third down brothers. So, okay.
Triplets, yeah. That's it. Trying to think of others. I feel like there'd be more along the offensive line.
Why you say that?
Because you guys are all fat and
Pouncey's.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good
Pouncey.
one.
See?
Yeah.
See? Told you.
He found one. So the Khalil brothers, Ryan Khalil, Matt Khalil, both played in the NFL.
What position do they
Offensive
play?
line. We didn't get to where did Kurt and Kyle Busch fall into this? Definitely towards the top, right?
Yes.
Austin and Ty Dillon.
What about Goskowski's brothers?
Hadn't seen the tape.
There's got to be more. The O-line feels like the most obvious.
If you were just going college basketball, the Plumleys, I believe, could fall into this category.
Ooh, very good one. Very good one.
And I know you don't acknowledge them, but they span generations. Colquitts.
Who?
The Colquitts.
They have multiple?
Oh,
yeah.
Lots of punters.
I thought there was just one that
they're
did
like
both.
they're like the Vanderbilts. They just keep on
really
trotting out. Yeah,
that's cool. Not that I won't acknowledge them. I just didn't know that there were multiple.
So the Stahl brothers had 4 in the NHL at one point in time?
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah, they can go. Hockey, you're going to find a bunch of brothers.
What are you trying to say?
I mean, it's a niche sport. I mean, it's like it's culturally
niche
you grow up.
reproduction?
No, culturally you grow up skating on a farm in Canada at 2. Like that's so the likelihood of you, if your brother's good, you're probably going to be good. So I think hockey, you're going to find a bunch.
Are the Molina brothers the only 2 Major League Baseball catcher brothers all time? You got like the Alomars, you've got the Ripkins, but I don't think there have been 2 other catchers in Major League Baseball that were brothers.
Don't know. Can't answer that.
Why not?
Because I don't know.
Figure it out.
Not going to. Phil and Tony Esposito, hockey.
Hey, the Bryant twins won
tennis.
Yeah, they won multiple majors.
Why did
together.
they play singles?
Some people operate better with others, Greg,
because they
don't
don't
have to go out on their own.
Do all Molinas have rings?
Take all the credit for themselves.
I think all Molinas
Some
do.
people like team sports and trying to win as one, and not needing all the credit for themselves.
Well, we know you don't, Mr. Anti-Masters.
Yeah, the individual sports that we're rooting for.
Scott and Rob Niedermeyer.
Excuse me?
Hockey. They won a Stanley Cup together on the Anaheim Ducks in 2007.
Stiersky tweets in the Morris twins.
The Cavenders.
They win social media, I guess, sports-wise.
Yeah.
That's the Bud Light and twins. Yeah.
He also tweets in the Bailey brothers. Boss Rondé.
Circus?
No. Like Barnum, I think, would be actually the
Barnum.
Yeah.
The old Barnum.
No, like Champ, Boss.
Oh, yeah.
And
like Donald or
what was the
David.
other one? Hold on. Champ Bailey, Boss Bailey, and I played against, I feel like, all of them. Can't remember the third
It's a
one.
regular name. It's like Dan or Don or something like that.
I can't. It doesn't.
What about Dominique and Gerald Wilkins?
Gerald, not quite what Dominique was, but did play in the NBA, so you get credit for that.
Okay, well, I mean.
Jared tweets in McPherson, father and brothers, all NFL kickers. Hadn't seen the tape. Don't know. Mark's tweeting in the Alou brothers, Alou family. I mean, dad, Major League Baseball for a while also, player and manager.
Ronald Bailey.
What about Brooks and Chase
really?
Koepka?
Yeah.
How good is Chase? And did
I
he
know
not?
Ronald
He made the
well.
live tour by.
He would have been great and a member guest.
He was he's got the charity live membership, right?
Excuse me?
They just gave it to him because they wanted Brooks, so they just said you'll get in. Tell me that didn't happen.
I'm not saying it didn't.
So it did.
Hater.
Don't care. Hey, do what's best for you. Von Erich brothers wrestling, pretty good. Not bad.
Oh, the Hart family, if we're going to do
Yeah,
that.
what about the Usos?
No, there is one. Who was the NCAA wrestling family that had like 3 champions? I'd have to go.
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Not that. That's not what I'm talking about. Not it. No.
The Iron Sheik.
I don't know if he had a brother. Jason and Jeremy Giambi, Matt tweets in. Yes, they are the greatest PED brothers in sports
No,
history.
that'd be the Bash Brothers.
Well, yeah, but they might be blood brothers after sharing needles.
Didn't they exchange? Yeah.
Maybe they did.
Wow.
It's feasible.
What's wrong with you? You don't know
Jose
that.
said he injected Mark.
That's a heck of an accusation.
Great poster, by the way, sitting on the police car with the giant baseball bats in the 80s. You missed that. Always a good one. Ronell and Donnell Taylor from back in the day at UAB. Blay Blay tweets that in. So we got some good ones.
And seen the tape. What about Nick and Joey Bosa?
Joe and Phil Necro. Yeah, that's you could go Bosa family. Dad played in the NFL.
True.
Also. If you're going NFL family.
What about Sterling and Shannon Sharp?
Oh, man.
They haven't made the cut yet.
I think that's probably our most egregious miss so far.
Yes.
2 Hall of Famers.
That's a tough one.
Not bad.
That's a tough one.
Not bad.
Pretty good. We should not have missed that one.
Vince Allen tweets in Carlson kickers. That has run deep. Clayton tweets in Joe and Phil Necro. Gaylord and Jim Perry coming in from Michael Kirby.
What about Dom and Joe DiMaggio?
I thought we were trying to find some of the best instead of just,
wow.
hey, guy made appearance in league
Okay, yeah.
as a sibling.
Oh, we
Bryan
ruled out
brothers.
Thanasis.
I'm still kind of mad that you brought up the Bryan brothers.
Rory and Greg McElroy.
Ooh, I'm his daddy, not his brother.
Wow.
That's what you chose?
Still told you that Meredith wanted to name Vince Rory one time, right? You know this?
I've never heard this story.
Oh, I'll tell you the story on their side.
Okay.
Yeah. Our first son was almost named Rory. I'll explain next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back, McElroy and Cubelic. Good morning, Jocks 94.5, 8:53 a.m. here, Birmingham, Alabama. It's a great day to go up and check out our friends at Bill Smith Buick GMC. They're the GMC Dealer of the Year 5 times in a row. General Motors has named them number 1, the champion of GMC dealers. It's because of deals like this: a GMC Sierra 1500 4x4 with leather loaded SLT trim, $65,795 what you'd pay locally. Take the short drive up to Coleman, you could take $13,000 off the sticker. You can get it for under $53,000. It's deals like that keep people come back. That's why 75% of their business repeat customers. That's why they sell more vehicles than anyone in the entire Southeast, and that's why they've won 5 straight GMC Dealer of the Year awards. Take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
We want to hear the story about how your son was almost named Roy. I did want to give credit quickly to Duke of Northport tweeting in on our brother discussion, Kane and the Undertaker.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Very good one.
It's a good
Right there.
Great one.
Yes, a great pull. But
yes.
First off, for folks that don't know, your last name is not spelled the same way as the golfer's last name.
Confirm, yes.
However, you did almost have a son that shared the first name.
That is accurate. So we kind of made the decision early that my son would be Gregory Vincent McElroy III. That was not really up to debate. It's a foregone conclusion. We wanted to keep that thing going.
Hold on, I thought when it's the third, not third. When you have a child, shares a name for the third consecutive time, it is third.
THUHD.
Third. Correct.
Third.
Okay. Just
right.
making sure.
So Gregory Vincent McElroy the third. All right. So it was kind of, Meredith did not like the name Vincent because of the Sixth Sense. The first scene in the Sixth Sense, the guy that shoots Bruce Willis,
Isn't it weird how
his
we
name
have
is Vincent, and it was really difficult.
Make us hate names. It's
yes,
so
she couldn't
odd.
do it. She said, "No matter what, my son's not being named Vincent. Just not happening. Just like that guy's too creepy. It's too creepy of a name. We can't do it." I'm like, "All right, fine. Well, so. What are our options? Trey, Trip, like what?
Triangle.
Third names, yes, for sure. So those are all the options. All great names. All great options.
Triple.
But Meredith, out of the blue one day, I have it. I know what we're going to call him. Gregory. We just call him Rory. Boom. I go, hang on a second.
No.
You want to name our son
That didn't happen.
Rory McElroy? She goes, does that not sound good? I'm like, yeah, it sounds good. Sounds really good.
Sounds like a major flopper.
Yeah.
It sounds fantastic.
Sounds like a Sunday letdown guy.
Yes, it sounds great. I like the name. I think it's great. It rolls off the tongue. It feels familiar, doesn't it? She goes, I know I've heard it, but it feels right. I'm like, well, that's because the number 1 player in the world at the time in 2019 or 2018 is Rory McIlroy. She goes, oh my goodness, the golfer. I'm like, yes, yep, that's Rory McIlroy for you. So needless to say, Vince was what we landed on, but it was very, very hotly contested conversation between Rory and Vince there at the very end.
I don't know what's better, your son being Rory McIlroy or Rory being short for Gregory. Alex Page tweeting in Brett and Owen Hart. Mr. Alderson tweets in 6 Suter brothers in hockey.
Wait, what?
Suter?
Yes.
I only know Bruce Suter, but this is different apparently. They're from
a handful.
Viking, Alberta, Canada. One of the most famous families in the NHL here, and we didn't even know about them.
I know about Rick Suter.
What the puck? I know about Bruce Suter. 6 brothers, Brian, Daryl, Dwayne, Rich, and Ron. That's a mix, by the way. It goes right along with our conversation during the break.
Whew. That's some names right there.
Ryan Suda.
You put those public school, private school, inner city school, country school. They all reached the NHL in the late 70s and 80s. 4, Brent, Brian, Daryl, and Dwayne, gone on to become coaches and GMs. So the first family of hockey is the Suters.
Ah, good to know.
Sutter, not like the show that y'all like.
I'm unfamiliar.
Bama Enjoyer tweets in, have y'all said the Manning brothers? No, we just left that one out.
Oh my gosh, I knew we forgot someone.
Rick and Scott Steiner coming in as well.
Who?
Wow. Okay.
But actually, I do believe they were both really good wrestlers at Michigan.
Yeah.
Before horse steroids. And selling the big gold to someone that has appeared on this show before. Don't ask me.
Is this the guy? Is this one of them?
Don't know what you're talking about.
That doesn't look like horse steroids to me.
Stiersky tweets in the Morris twins earlier. Is that Markeith and Marcus?
Yeah.
Or does Jack Morris have a brother? Hal. I have no idea if they were related or not. None. Okay. So there we go.
I'll give you one other one. Nelly Corda and her brother Sebastian.
Nelly ripped. Country Grammar, Air Force Ones. What songs did she make? What?
First of all, Air Force One's a terrible song. I don't know why you tried.
It is
a terrible song.
We know you prefer Chingy.
First of all, I grew up with Nelly. All right, so I'm not going to listen to that nonsense. Nelly, Jessica, and Sebastian. So there's 3 Corda siblings. Sebastian is like big time ATP tennis player. And Nelly is the number 1 golfer in the world. And Jessica has won 6 tournaments on the LPGA Tour.
There it is.
That doesn't stink.
There you go.
Not bad.
Got it.
Don't cross-train.
Francesco and Eduardo Molinari.
Exactly.
Another golf family.
Mm-hmm.
Both were on a Ryder Cup team. Nikolai and Rasmus Højgaard.
Excuse me?
I'm sure you like them.
How many Erasmuses do you know out there?
Minwoo and Minji Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, golf is so awesome. I can't believe you don't like it. Matt and Alex Fitzpatrick.
Bruce and Brandon Lee, martial arts.
Father-son. Right?
We're still in families, I thought.
No, we're going siblings.
Got it.
Jake and Chris Paul.
You mean Chris and Cliff Paul?
Jake and Chris Paul and Logan.
Chris Paul and Jake Paul are related?
They're both equally annoying and hateable.
Why is Chris Paul hateable?
Because he's fake.
Because he's played for so many different teams?
He's the fakest dude in the NBA. It's like everybody knows this.
He went to Wake. How could he be?
Because it rhymes with fake.
Oh.
Think about what you're saying to have to be proclaimed as the fakest dude in the NBA.
I know that's an achievement.
It's up there. I did ask earlier in reference to the Southeastern Conference, which event they put on that would be number 1 for you. A lot of people would say this basketball tournament. Would that be at the top for Greg McElroy? Not McElroy.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, it'd probably be number 1. Like I said, though, if we were to split Hoover into 2 down in Hoover.
You're dying on this hill, aren't you?
I've already said it from the beginning.
I think you're dead on this hill, but
I'm not going
going
to. There's nothing dead about it.
You can be like the Undertaker.
It makes way more sense. It makes way more sense to play the game.
Back.
You do one. It's one that starts at noon at
Greg, we can't park for Barons games, and you want to try to have the Southeastern Conference tournament with the LSU or Mississippi State fans trying to get down there?
You think they need to be driving?
I think they need to have ways to get there, and some folks are going to park no matter what. Yeah. Is all the media supposed to Uber down there?
You can park at Hoover, and we have buses. It's a 10-minute bus trip to Regions. Playing games at 2 a.m. is not good for anybody.
For Night Owls, it is.
Name me one of those.
Not in these parts.
Not on this show.
No. No, we didn't. Jimmy tweets in Hurley Brothers. That would have been a good one in basketball for sure. All right, so for me, it's the SEC championship game still. And you
Football?
can say, it's just a football game. But I do think they do a good, what they have around it, how they build it up. That is fair. And probably no. To which I would then, I think, still go SEC baseball tournament.
Baseball is I just love the tournament. If you didn't have weather delays as a possibility, it'd be the runaway number one. But we have weather delays. Unfortunately, that becomes real challenging.
But your number one sports event also has weather delays, and that was the Masters. There have been weeks that we finished out on a Monday.
In which case, Monday becomes a very unproductive day at the office.
Okay. So what would be third if we...
For the SEC?
Correct. For your list.
Well, number 1 is basketball. Number 2 is baseball. Number 3 is football.
I think basketball is third for me.
Gosh.
I think it kind of hurts that it's been in different places. I know it kind of lives in Nashville now,
definitely
but
hurts.
I've seen it in Birmingham.
I've seen it in St. Louis. I've seen it in Tampa.
I do feel like Nashville's kind of become the permanent home. And it's become a little bit more of a fixture, but that kind of does work against it just a little bit. Doesn't feel overly unique, but I do think that kind of like what we were talking about earlier in the week with what that arena turns into and sort of where it goes. Like, I think Paul Feinbaum was who shared that with us yesterday, that once the fans get in there, and then Richard Hendricks told us about the BBN Kentucky fans rolling in there, I do think it gets really cool later in the week. But I would still go SEC championship game, baseball tournament 1 and 2. And then after that, you look ahead and you start to think, how long will the SEC championship game still be number 1? I don't know the answer to that, but it's a good thought because it probably won't based on where we're headed.
No, probably not, unless it becomes a jamboree of sorts where multiple games are played in one venue on one day. That'd be amazing.
Jamboree would be awesome.
It'd be incredible. You do back to back. All right, there's 4 teams in the SEC championship this year. Cool. 1 versus 4 is playing at 2:30, and then 2 versus 3 is playing at 7:30.
You are looking live at the second annual SEC Jamboree.
It'd be the best.
Brought to you by Buc-ee's.
No.
Kind of works.
No. It'd be
It works a little bit, though.
The Dr. Pepper All-State Regions. Big bucks.
Stay tuned because Meet the Next will play in between the games.
I mean, we would be for it if there's a way you could make it work. But obviously, I don't think that we're going to get to that point. I don't think that we're going to look at it. After you've looked at this bracket for this year's SEC tournament, we talked yesterday just about kind of the draws, the seedings, the paths that we like. Do you have a team that you feel better about than all of the other teams to actually go win this SEC basketball tournament?
Yes, Florida. I think Florida's the team with the highest ceiling. I've thought that for months and months. I don't think the bracket necessarily matters. I think they're the toughest team to play against. They got great length. They have a low post presence. They can shoot it. They're well coached. I mean, I think Florida is the team that, when you take everything into account and you got to play neutral sites, I think that's the team that's the toughest to play.
Yeah. I would add that to what I said yesterday with the draw that they're going to get. I do think it propels them there just a little bit and helps out some. I would probably look at it and say I think Florida the team to beat right now. Also, too, they have a little bit of work to do as far as their NCAA tournament seeding. And I think that they probably look at it as they could potentially help themselves there a little bit. And that might give them a little extra motivation. there are a lot of different ways to view the mindsets of teams heading into this tournament. It's always interesting to think about what it could be, what it might be, sort of where things are. I'm not really 100% sure what things look like at the moment. Florida, according to Joe Lunardi, currently a 1 seed, 4th overall. So, of course, they want to hang on to that. Probably wouldn't have to win the tournament to stay there. Would have to think that they couldn't lose a single game and stay on the 1 line. But he still has Auburn as the 1 seed, the number 1 overall. Houston as the number 3 seed overall. Duke as the 2 seed overall. So with Alabama, the 6 seed overall, you'd imagine winning a couple of games here, Greg, could go a long way, specifically with whatever happens to some of those other 1 seeds that Lunardi has as of now. So could benefit the Crimson Tide more than anybody else to maybe go win this tournament.
Yeah. I mean, I think a win in the SEC tournament for Alabama probably gets them a 1 seed, right? I mean, granted, a little bit dependent on what happens with Houston.
Some going to be dependent on what happens
other places. I think Auburn and Duke are probably locked in. I think Florida and Houston are the 2 right now that are up for grabs. So maybe Houston has an early exit. That'd be great. Florida, get the chance to play them. That'd be great.
You would need Tennessee to lose also.
You think Alabama's behind Tennessee?
Lunardi has Tennessee as the 5 overall. Alabama's the 6 overall.
All right.
So just according to his arithmetic or thought process.
I got no problem with it. They won the game. I'm not mad at them for it.
Yeah, that's kind of where things are right now. So it's going to be a fun watch either way. Is there a first matchup for Auburn or Alabama that you would feel? Well, I mean, listen, if the lowest seed were able to push through, you're going to feel better about that, no matter what. But is there one that interests you more? Like, we'll start with Auburn. Would you rather see them play Arkansas or Ole Miss? I'm not even going to pretend like South Carolina would be that team.
Come on, you want to see South Carolina?
Nah, it's all good. And after what?
You're all about it.
I mean, after what you heard Cal say yesterday in reference to the SEC tournament, pretty intriguing about how he just doesn't care about the SEC tournament, and that he thought.
What does Cal care about?
I think cash would be towards the top. Cream may be a slogan that he lives by because he's made a ton of it.
I think all he cares about is getting his guys to the NBA. I really don't even know. I think Kentucky fans would mirror that.
But did say he cares about the NCAA tournament, but I think what he was trying to say was that's why a lot of times that he struggled there is that pressure then began to rise, and he probably put that on them, probably felt that himself more so than the SEC tournament. I mean, and it's not like he was overly dominant in the SEC tournament, by the way. But I did find it interesting that he comes out yesterday and just says, "Yeah, I didn't care about that at all, not one bit."
Fair. Of the teams that, I mean, obviously, if Auburn sees South Carolina magically in the first game, would be incredible. If not, I'd probably like to see Ole Miss.
He did win 6 SEC tournaments, though. You give him credit for that.
Yeah. Great. In an era when nobody else tried.
Wow.
I mean, sorry.
Try?
When did the SEC try in basketball prior to
Well, he won it
6
between
years ago.
10 and 18, and there were a couple of good SEC teams that made some decent runs in there. So
okay, a couple.
You got an Arkansas team pretty good, a Florida team pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
So I think
They're
South
fine.
Carolina had
Tennessee had a couple good teams. They're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. They're phenomenal. Wow. They tried. Not really.
But he deserves credit for getting 6 of them.
I'm not mad at him for that.
Yeah.
Still didn't.
Okay, Auburn, Ole Miss or Arkansas? Which is the more intriguing matchup?
I'm
going to go Ole Miss because
Ole Miss.
Chris Beard cares. I think he cares.
I think Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is. I think Ole Miss is a good team. We've seen them play real well at times.
Ole Miss gave Auburn some headaches physically, and I think that would be probably the better, more interesting matchup.
More interesting matchup, or the game that you think Auburn would be more likely to win?
No, I actually think that would be the more difficult game for Auburn, which therefore makes the more interesting matchup. I mean, you can sit here and root for the 16 and the 12 and the 15 if you want, but I'm talking about better games. Like, get the best game. Like, I think Missouri can give Florida a better game than Mississippi State can. We're not going to talk about LSU.
Wow.
I think A&M gives Tennessee the better game than Texas or Vanderbilt. Who gives Alabama the better game? I think it's pretty easy. It's Kentucky.
Of course.
Oklahoma, certain people would try to make you believe that could be it, but it's with Kentucky's length and
I don't think I saw that game.
Yeah.
in person. Like Oklahoma's got a couple good players for sure, but I still think Kentucky is the more challenging team to play against. For sure.
When you look at all of those, do we get mostly chalk in this SEC tournament? Like, do we get Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, Bama?
No. I think we're going to have some chaos.
And that is because some mindset, some desperation with other teams.
Yeah, I mean, what is Auburn's motivation outside of losing 3 in a row going into the tournament?
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. I mean, don't want that.
Don't want that, but
nobody needs that.
But what can be gained? Not much.
No, I mean, I'm with you.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see a desperate A&M team make a run. Not that they're desperate to make the tournament, not that they're desperate to make the field, but desperate to improve their standing. I wouldn't see, and I think A&M's really good, by the way. I think Ole Miss can be a problem.
Yeah,
for sure.
Missouri, Kentucky can be problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think Missouri's fine. I think they're good. I still think Florida's going to win it. But it would not surprise me at all if you saw some teams that can really improve their standing get hot and make a run.
Yep. All right, I want to stay with the Southeastern Conference, but not necessarily basketball. If you don't want to stay in the home that you currently reside in, you should probably call Gusty Goulis in the Gusty Goulis Group, 205-542-1996, or just Google Gusty Goulis Group. You'll see over 835-star Google reviews. That's service unprecedented that you'll get from the Gusty Goulis Group. That's why they've served more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. You can trust Gusty's aggressive and proven selling system. They know what it takes to get you into the home of your dreams because probably they know when that home's going to become available. Since 2012, Gusty Goulis Group recognized both nationally and locally as Greater Birmingham, Alabama's #1 team in homes sold. So go to thegustygoulisgroup.com, see what they can do for you today, or call 205-542-1996 and start packing. Who is the best running back returning into the SEC or moving into the SEC? We've talked about different positions inside this conference from a football perspective, but this is one that I think when you begin to dive into who's actually back and who actually might be the best, could be a little surprising. We'll do it next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We've taken a look at a couple of position groups around college football, the Southeastern Conference, sides of the football, maybe teams that are going to have some issues, teams that we know are going to have success, guys that we know are going to be back, some uncertainties around the league. By the way, JOP tweeting in the Grammatica kickers. That's a good one. I mean, it's not a good one because it's kickers, but at the same time, it's
they are siblings.
They are.
That is accurate.
And a lot. And Frank Bunn also, Terry and Bobby Labonte. We need to get them in.
Who?
Terry and Bobby Labonte.
Oh.
Just didn't mention them. Felt like that was a slight on our part and did not mean any disrespect at all. Labonte, one of the mainstay names in racing.
Yes.
So we got that in.
Heard that.
Southeastern Conference running backs. We could normally rattle off 5, 6, 7 of bam, 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 bam. Best coming back in the SEC. Doesn't feel that way this year. Now, you had a lot of prowess in that position that's just going to be gone, going to move on. Dylan Sampson was great at Tennessee. Jarquez Hunter was great at Auburn. Nate Noel came into Missouri, had a good year. Rocket Sanders, good career in college football. I'll start with this, though. How many 1,000-yard rushers do you think we had in the SEC last year?
I'll say 3.
It was 3.
Dylan Sampson.
Yep.
Did Rocket Sanders get there?
He did not. 81.
All right, Dylan Sampson. Montrell.
No. He was at 593, actually.
Not even close, eh?
Mm-mm.
Did Ball get there?
No. 673.
Kentucky didn't. Missouri didn't.
Jarquez Hunter.
Jarquez.
Throughout 1201.
Yeah. All right. Missouri didn't. Oklahoma didn't. Texas did not.
Did.
He got there?
Quintravian Weiser, 1,064, who I think should, I don't know if he would be at most people's list as best returning back in the league. I do think another guy that you just mentioned would at least be in that conversation. That's Jaden Baugh at Florida. Big fan of his game, what he's going to bring back, what he's going to be. But this laundry list of great SEC backs it's just not there. There are not multiple backs that have been proven that we have seen. Now, you're still going to have Jam Miller at Alabama. You're going to have Nate Fraser coming back to Georgia, who have done some good things. But it just we're used to seeing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 just incredible running backs. They're going to be back at SEC squads, and I don't feel like we had that this year. And we did some of these guys were difference makers for these teams. I mean, Wisner not only running the football, catching the ball, and maybe that's a position too that we thought at Texas just wasn't going to be successful because of the preseason injuries. Jarquez, we don't look at as having that great a year because I feel like there was more in the tank, and a lot of people looked at it as he could have helped that team more, could have been more at different times for that football team last year. But when you look around at who's back and who is potentially going to be dominant, there doesn't feel like a ton of guys in the league.
Well, but so many teams have gone down the path of we want to have a more diverse set of running backs. How often are we going to see bell cow backs in college football?
That's fair.
I mean, there's almost none. It doesn't mean that you can't, doesn't mean you can't have them, but it's just they're more rare than they once were. So I think that's something that's to be taken into account as well.
Only 2 backs went over 200 carries.
And I think that number seems even higher than it's likely to be in the near future. I mean, even the best back in the country, Jeremiah Love, I think most people would say at Notre Dame, he's the best back in college football coming into next year.
I'd probably have him 1.
I think most people would, but you would also take into account, he does split carries with Jadarian Price and with Aeneas Williams. So there's a bunch now that we're kind of in the position where I like a lot of the backs, but I don't know if there's one that I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt. Yep, he stands above all else.
Sharing carries is a part of this. Is a part of this discussion as to you won't get guys that are going to have, Derrick Henry type carries or workload anymore. 258 carries for Dylan Sampson, 226 for Quintravian Wisner. Would you like to take a guess at who was third in the SEC in rush attempts last year?
I would have said, I would say, gosh, it's a hard one. Rocket Sanders?
No. John, would you like to take a shot?
Jarquez?
This is Diego Pavia.
Whoa.
192 rush attempts. Now, some of that leaving the pocket, moving
some of
around
that sacks, too.
But Jarquez would have been the next back with 187. Rocket had 183. Then Jalen Milroe with 168. Then Lanella Soares with Lenore Sellers with 166. I will say a back that deserves some discussion in this, and I don't know if he'll become a super feature back based on the offense and based what I said about the number 3 rusher as far as attempts in the league, would be Cedric Alexander.
He's good.
I think he has a chance to be great. I think he can be incredible. I don't know if he'll get that workload or not. I don't know if they will feature him that way and he'll be able to get those kind of carries. Taylon Green, by the way, was 10th in rush attempts. So that's 3 quarterbacks in the top 10.
You got some freaks
attempts
coming, though. I mean, there's a couple young bucks that I'm very...
four quarterbacks in the top 10.
There's a couple young bucks I'm super bullish on, though. Like I think there's reason to feel great about Nate Frazier at Georgia and what should be a newfound commitment to running the football. The guy's got crazy good juice. You just got to secure the football. Put it on the deck a few too many times for me to feel super comfortable about it. I like Jamarian Wilcox at Kentucky.
He can go. I don't know if he can handle 185 carries, but he's got some juice.
He's gonna be a big problem. I mean, you get him. I mean, he's gonna probably still be a guy that's not. I'm not sure he's like you said, a heavy workload guy, but you split the carries enough and give him 12 to 15 a game, he can cause some problems. And then I'm gonna be real curious to see how things work for Le'Veon Moss. Le'Veon Moss hurt his knee against South Carolina last year, and it was a bad knee injury, right knee injury. But he's going to have plenty of time. He's going to have 10 months to recover from knee reconstruction to get back out there and be in good shape. Now, it won't happen here in the spring, but man, he runs hard. And he was a huge problem for folks last year, getting him to the ground on initial contact.
He's a load when he's running the football, but you also have Amari Daniels in that backfield. Reuben Owens back in that backfield. Those two have played a lot. We've seen them.
But I think Moss is
action.
The best one.
But you're still, like you said before, you're not, if you have multiple capable backs, you're probably not really featuring one. So I think it'll be interesting to see kind of how they manage that and how they handle it, because you do have other backs that had, Daniels had 661 yards last year, over 4.5 a carry. Jaden Ball is the guy that I'm excited about. If there was one that you look at in this list of younger backs and you said, who you're going to push your chips to the middle of the table on to be able to go out and be special, he would be that guy for me. I just think size, speed, he's got durability. I think he's got the ability to make you miss. He would be that guy for me that I look at and say, yeah, I'm all in on what Jaden Ball potentially could be at Florida.
Yeah. I like Ball. I think Ball's good. I don't know. I think he's going to be solid this year. I don't know how much better he's going to be than last year. I thought he was pretty dang good as a freshman.
Well, yeah, he'll get more opportunities this year.
He's just not super sudden. That's my problem. Like the age of the big body back. I like it. There's a place for it for sure, but I'm more in the line of I like a Nate Frazier, a guy that's going to shake a guy down and take it the distance, a guy that can contribute some in the passing game. Like I like a guy that can get 4.5 a carry for sure, 5.5 a carry by just pushing the pile. That's great. And that's what Baugh is. But I do wonder how much open field twitch does he have? I don't think there's as much.
I think he's got some, like more than a lot of other guys that are 235.
Yeah, but he's still 235.
Sure. It means you would truck your fanny too.
That's fine. And if I need a short yardage back, I'll hand it to him.
Yeah, he might be that. He might end up being both. for this Florida team, and not going to have Montreal really there to share it with, even though there are some other good backs on that roster. We'll see how that one plays out. What about backs transferring into the league? There's an interesting list of guys coming in that are not big names because they're not from big programs. They're not from headliner programs, so guys that a lot of people have seen, a lot of people have watched. Which one of those could potentially make the biggest impact? We can discuss those on the other side and get to just like how many SEC teams may be leaning on quarterback run. And is that going to be a part of it? You'll have to wait on that conversation, but one thing you never have to wait for is your dental care.
That's because Family Care Dental has you taken care of. They're the urgent care office where you can be seen the same day. They're open on Fridays and Saturdays, and they can get you immediate help, but their routine appointments include free teeth whitening as well. They're accepting patients of all ages, and most insurance plans are accepted, with locations all throughout the community to make it easy on you. In Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, and Alabaster, and then now open in Trussville. Call Family Care Dental for an appointment today at 874-9605. That's Family Care Dental, 874-9605.
All right, we will discuss transfer running backs into the SEC next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. 800-239-9569. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can text in 205-834-9450. Well, let's just play it this way quickly. Who do you think will lead the SEC in rushing in 2025? Based on everybody we talked about, based on everything you heard, Greg, you know what? We'll run through these first for some folks because this may be, these are names people need to know and probably don't know a couple of them right now. Rashul Faison comes in to South Carolina from Utah State, a name that not a lot of people are going to be familiar with, a name that not a lot of people are going to get excited about, a name that not a lot of people immediately look at and say, oh, yeah, that guy, he's going to be big time this year. However, 1,109 rushing yards at Utah State last year, 5.6 per carry, 8 rushing touchdowns. He was productive. So he is a guy that I think you need to keep your eye on, at least pay attention to. Also coming to Mississippi State, a guy we talked about a decent amount last year, Fluff Bothwell from South Alabama. Put up big numbers, had some big games for the Jags. Now, the level of football, of course, going to be different for both. But Bothwell, 832 yards, 13 rushing touchdowns. And he's been good for a couple of years there at South Alabama. Not a couple of years, but for a couple of games were massive, even though he didn't play in every one. You also look down the list of Ahmad Hardy at Missouri from ULM and had his head coach on, talked about recruiting him, what he meant to the program, and obviously now going to go play at Mizzou where he did run some outside zone there in that ULM scheme. So has an idea of what that Missouri scheme is going to look like. And a true freshman that ran 237 times last year for 1,351 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5.7 per carry. Also coming into the SEC will be Dante Dowdle from Nebraska. Haven't seen the tape. Molly, is he good? That sounds super confident. She said, he's good.
He's fine.
He's good.
He's okay.
Not he's dominant.
Not great.
Not he's taking over the league. Not watch out for that guy.
He's fine.
He's good. All right. So maybe
I like that she's not super confident.
She don't want to steer people wrong.
She doesn't want to disappoint anybody.
Kejuan Lacey from Missouri going to Ole Miss. Your guess is as good as mine. Draylon Washington from the Cajuns or Louisiana or UL Louisiana
From
ULL.
The kid from ULMO is going to be good.
Or Louisiana or the University of Louisiana is coming in Alabama. I like him. He looks bigger than 224 on tape, but he's got some real physicality that he can play with. I kind of wondered why. Well, they gave the ball to like 4 different backs last year. They had a lot of guys carry the football.
Yeah.
But I think he's capable of being a solid back. Not that Alabama needs a whole lot of it, but
no,
he could come in and be somebody that's formidable.
They really liked Richard Young too. So I think Bama's going to have 2 or 3 deep that they feel pretty good about.
Auburn gets Darrell Robinson from UConn. A little bit more of a one-cut downhill runner, 6'1", 200, and he looks long. He's a big strider. I think he can be sort of a different back in Auburn's system. I don't view him as sort of the feature back, but I think what they were looking at is, hey, if we do need a guy that can sort of handle a little bit more workload, he would be that guy. But I wouldn't expect him to put up Jarquez Hunter numbers.
No. Be great.
Jordan Simmons from Akron coming to Ole Miss. Go.
Hadn't seen the tape.
Oh, no. I hadn't gotten in my Akron offseason study yet.
Wow.
So it's just next in line. It's coming up. Right there next.
Soon.
Star Thomas from Duke heading to Tennessee.
They say he's good.
They say.
I don't know.
Folks out there in the stratosphere say
there's
he
buzz.
can play. 871 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to have to go check the tape on him. I haven't gotten to that one yet.
But he had Malik Murphy.
Yeah. Mike Washington from New Mexico State's coming into Arkansas.
Don't know.
Haven't seen
But
the
New
tape.
Mexico State's had a bunch of, they ran the ball.
Yeah, he
well.
ran at 157 for 725 and 8 touchdowns and wasn't the leading rusher.
Yeah.
Seth McGowan went for 823 and 3 touchdowns. They put up a lot of offense
The center?
in general. No, that would be a different Mick. But he also coming into the league. So you got a couple of transfers that could end up being viable candidates to get a lot of yards. I don't know if I immediately look at any of those, Greg, and say I think they're going to lead the league in rushing.
No.
Especially with like what you said. Let's just say that we both thought right offhand that Mike Washington Jr. at 6'2", 215 was going to be that dude for Arkansas. Like, watch out for this guy. Like, he's got some Darren McFadden tendencies. Let's just say we thought that. Well, Taylor Green's going to take some, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, automatically, I think it's going to be hard for him to lead the league in rushing just because of what his quarterback's going to do by design and just leaving the pocket. So, that's going to be touches that he doesn't get. And then you go down to the list of some of these other guys are going to be like, whoever takes it for Auburn this year, we don't think Jackson Arnold's going to get some carries.
He's definitely going to get some carries.
So whoever,
there's no doubt about it. Jackson
South Carolina going to split carries with their quarterback. Vandy going to split carries with their quarterback. I mean, that's going to be Arch Manning's probably going to add a little bit more on the ground for the Texas backs this year.
Yeah, I don't know how much they're going to want to expose him though.
No, but he's going to pull some zone reads. I mean, he's going to have some design runs at times because it's going to make it more difficult to defend. You know, Sark's going to have it in there. Missouri, a team that'll probably have a few more Q runs this year, wouldn't you think?
Yes. I think Bo Prevula, that's part of what he's done well.
So it makes it a little bit more difficult task to kind of look at this and say, okay, I definitively think that guy is going to lead the league in rushing. But if you had to pick a guy right now, who do you take? Who do you look at and say, this will be the SEC's leading rusher? And then I'll ask you this.
In yardage or carries?
Yardage.
Because that's a big difference.
But then I'll ask you this. 3,000-yard rushers a year ago. Under that number this year in the Southeastern Conference.
Under.
Ooh. It feels like it based on everything that we've said.
Just everybody's got 2 or 3. It's going to be so injury dependent. Why does Quintravian Wisner run for over 1,000 last year? 1, his team played 15 games. 2,
helps a little bit.
Helps a lot. 2, he CJ Baxter got hurt and they didn't have depth. I mean, that's a big part of it when you can't split the carries up. So if we revisit this conversation week 4 and you've lost 3 backs to non-contact injuries in camp and or in summer or whenever it might have been, it's a big difference. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
So it's hard to feel great about a guy going for north of 1,000 unless you know he's going to get 200 carries.
Yeah, I think there's a guy that sort of fits multiple categories here of if you're going to predict this. 1, does he have the system to allow it?
Yes.
2, is he going to have to share a lot of carries? Is he going to share carries with multiple backs and or his quarterback? 3, do you think, like you just said, can he stay healthy and can he be durable enough to even be in the games to get the carries?
Yeah.
And I'll go Jaden Ball. Because I think they're going to be, I mean, everybody's going to say, DJ Lagway. They're going to run. They're going to be a run-first football team.
Are we almost at the point, too, though, like just taking it all into account where we need to account for all-purpose yards? Because a lot of these toss sweeps are receptions now. Like, I mean, you look at the guys' receiving numbers out of the backfield.
I was going to say, are you referencing like balls actually thrown?
No.
That they're getting
I'm talking about,
for?
Well, no, they're getting receiving yards,
but it's a run
when
play.
Traditionally I would be a toss sweep.
Game. Right.
So you got to factor that in too. Like if we're counting those, then we're going to have a bunch.
Wisner will lead the league.
We're going to have
yards.
a bunch in that will get over 1,000.
Yeah, because they didn't run it a ton, but Wisner on that little, just either a wheel, almost like a quick wheel, or out in the little flare out in the flat. Like he hit a couple of those for big gains last year, and I think Sark kind of saved him for bigger moments. Like you remember the Michigan game, when he was out in the open field and he gave that DB just a ride out in space. Like he had about 4 or 5 of those at critical moments for Texas this year, where they were exactly what they needed at that time. And I'm sure either they were showing a lot of pressure or the run game had gotten going a little bit, and it's like all of a sudden, here we come. Bam, we'll hit you out on the perimeter. You're not ready for it. And by the way, that DB is probably not making that tackle in space.
Right.
So I agree with you. It's become more popular that, hey, get the back out in space. If you're going to try and bring 8, 9 guys to the box, or if you feel like you have to pressure our quarterback and we're having trouble with it, whoop, and And you know what? That was the biggest thing Georgia did to them. I thought the first time around when Georgia played them, and we talked about this on Read and React that Monday night, Georgia tackled in open space. I thought it was the most impressive thing Georgia did against Texas in that game is they got ball carriers to the ground in one-on-one situations, whether it was Jalen Walker out in space or whether it was Malachi Starks in space. Like, they got Texas's ball carriers to the ground, and a lot of people didn't do that.
Well, I think a lot of people too. A lot of people look at how Texas formulates offense, and it's creating tons of he's creating tons of separation just based on formation and catch and run. So I think there's a lot of yards after catch available, but a lot of it too is yards after catch available, behind the line of scrimmage. But it's just different. It's just very, very different from what we grew up with. Like, what these guys' receiving yards now aren't traditional, he's running an angle out of the backfield or a halfback option. They're just literally running toss sweep. When I was in school, it was toss sweep. I would just turn and pitch it to Mark or Trent. And I mean, quarterback, I would have had 300, 400 more yards passing in a given season, probably, just based on today's offense.
Right.
It's just different. So I just think when we look at 1,000-yard ball carriers, you just need to use that caveat that it's going to be more. I think we need to morph mentally as fans and as educated consumers of the sport. We need to morph more into the all-purpose yards. Anything that's caught at or behind the line of scrimmage on the move, to me, is a run. Now, if you're running routes downfield, anything beyond the line of scrimmage, use that as receiving yards. But anything behind the line of scrimmage, we factor that in. So I think if we use that, we'll have 5 or 6 that'll go over 1,000 this year.
So if you were to go total offense,
Deshaun Bishop, I think, would have a chance in that situation to go over. I think Jam Miller's got a chance to go over. I think you could, whatever ends up happening with Auburn, I think Damari Alston's going to have a few of those.
Yeah.
Just little swing sweeps. No big deal. Piece of cake. Quintrigan Wisner's going to have 5 a game. You're going to get CJ Baxter is going to be a guy that's going to get plenty of those. You look at A&M, you're going to have 2 or 3 guys with what they've formulated with Colin Klein's offense and just trying to create stuff on the perimeter. There's a lot of schools that are going to use the heck out of that.
Yeah, and you go back to some of the receiving numbers in the Southeastern Conference last year. By the way, would it surprise you if I told you we had fewer 1,000-yard receivers than we did rushers in the SEC last year?
No, it wouldn't surprise me.
It would surprise me. With the receivers we were talking about going into the season, and then I guess on top of that, the guys that actually did it, Trey Harris, Andrew Armstrong, like no Luther Burden. That would have been surprising to me, I think.
Yeah. Well, all that.
Like no Kyron Lacey?
Kyron Lacey missed how many games?
I'm talking about going into the year, though.
Oh.
Like when we talked about the receiving prowess, we talked about the guys at Kentucky. Dante Thornton was supposed to be, Michael Johnson playing football. You had Dom Lovett at Georgia, who maybe was going to be able to go off. Like Juice Wells was coming at the Ole Miss. There was a lot of guys, like Isaiah Bond going to Texas. It felt like there were multiple guys in multiple places that were easily going to be able to get over 1,000 yards receiving, and we had 2. And I know one of those is not the guy we were thinking, and that's Andrew Armstrong. So, like Trey Harris, we all thought he'd be over 1,000.
We were talking Deion Burks, Trey Harris. I mean, Trey Harris would have gotten there.
Matthew Golden, some of those guys at Texas, not just Bond, but some of the others.
Matthew Golden's good. We knew he'd be good. I don't know if I'd know he'd be as good as he was. But Eugene Wilson, I mean, think about the guys that we thought were going to be there that didn't get there.
That's what I'm saying.
Your boy Squirrel White.
I thought Elijah Badger, coming from Arizona State, was going to be able to get there. I never had
Brew McCoy.
Squirrel White. Well, he actually did some things the year before that would have made you believe that it was possible, but then coming off that injury, I don't know how many people really thought that was going to take
Your boy Dante
place.
Thornton.
I've already mentioned him.
Your boy Nick Harbor.
That wasn't one that
great in a video game.
That wasn't one that I think people who have the slightest understanding of football really thought was going to happen.
Stop.
No.
Video game.
Jeremy Bernard, maybe people thought.
No.
Having been in that offense, I think people thought it was feasible, possible.
Be great. Wish it was.
Yeah, but that's we had two. We had two last year.
Yeah,
and that's crazy to think about.
Keandre Lambert almost got there with the 60 yards he got in the final 30 seconds of the Iron Bowl.
And I don't know if I would have gone out before the season and said I think he's going to have 1,000. Now, Kevin Coleman, watching him at FIU, I would have thought he had a chance in that Mississippi State offense to go over 1,000. Yeah. It had nothing to do with winning games.
The most shocking was Missouri.
Luther Burden, of course.
I mean, that's the most shocking.
No doubt.
Like, would have thought.
Or pick a Georgia receiver.
Multiple guys. No, Georgia hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver in a minute.
But with Carson Beck coming back, you thought in multiple weapons that would have been something that would have taken
1,000-yard tight end.
Yeah. But. All right, so we'll continue discussing SEC running backs right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 9:54 Tuesday, March 11th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Great talk with Lenny Acuff, who's got Lipscomb in the NCAA tournament. Also, Andy Burcham, Scott Cross, who has Troy in the NCAA tournament. All of those you can go back and catch on the podcast if you need to see them. If you need to feel better, your CBD store can help. Better sleep, better focus throughout the course of the day. Arthritis, anxiety for you or your pet at the largest brick-and-mortar CBD retailer in the world. Your CBD store, first company to have USDA certified organic oil supplements. They've got the stamp seal on those products. Check out one of their 3 locations, Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver, Trustful just off 459. Your CBD store where good health hits home. Will you try to park in front of the TV for some hoops today? Just because we talked about how enjoyable this time of year is. 24 conference tournament games today. Big 12 starts, SWAC starts, ACC starts, the MAAC starts, the WAC starts, Conference USA all starts today. West Coast Conference, Horizon, and Northeast Conference and the CAA all going to name their champions today.
I will definitely be watching some hoops today. It's a beautiful day too, though, so I might spend a little time outside.
Try to get outside if you can. Obviously, nothing wrong with that. My friends at Royal Automotive want to help you experience how car buying should be. 4 Royal-owned dealerships in one location. Selection and savings unmatched. Royal, only place to find over 20 unique truck and SUV options in one spot. All offers valid through March 3rd, 2025. Certain restrictions apply. Royal Buick GMC, Royal Volkswagen, Royal Automart, Volvo Cars of Vestavia Hills, all at the corner of I-65 and Highway 31 in Vestavia. Online, royalautomotive.net. Make Royal your first and last stop when car shopping. Remember, for every ride, there's Royal. 3-Man Front, live from Social Taco in downtown Homewood. Go check them out today. Stop by, see them. Have some chips and salsa, have a beverage, and stick around Jocks 94.5 because Paul's after that, and we're back tomorrow, 7 to 10 a.m.